I'm here to help. I have seen that commented, Cole, on just about every single instance in which the SCORE Act is talked about on social media. If it's on Twitter, if it's on Facebook, people are always dropping that comment. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. That's usually not a sign of good things to come, but it seems as if we are inching closer to some actual federal legislation that may get a handle on all the craziness that we're seeing in college football. Welcome into the show. It's Wire to Wire. I'm Diesel. He is Cole Bryson, and you Tolos are already in the stream, chopping it up with one another. Appreciate you being a part of the show right out of the gate. See, these people understand the assignment, Cole. Tolo.
Yeah.
Turn on, leave it on. You turn it on at the beginning of the show. You stay with us all the way until the end, but a stacked up show for you today. We're going to be talking about Alabama and their future scheduling in the next segment. Daily Wires at 3:45. Will Ole Miss get docked by the fact that their entire offensive staff room is empty right now? There's a tumbleweed flowing through the coaches' offices right now down in Oxford, Mississippi. And we'll have Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central joining us at 4:20. But on its surface, Cole, when you hear that government is trying to get involved to put a stop to the insanity of college football, that would be coaches getting hired away right in front of playoff runs. It's mass transfers. It's it's putting these players into a position where they have to jump into the portal when they're not ready, when they're making decisions without all the information. Do you think the government is what it's going to take to get something like this done?
Well, I guess you could call me ye of little faith, right? Why did you doubt, Peter? Why did you doubt that the water could be walked on? And I'm not saying, Diesel, that I don't believe the government can't fix college athletics, because maybe I guess they can, but I guess to be very blunt with you on this Tolo Tuesday, I don't know that there's any saving this sport. Really? I don't know that there's anything, any body of government that can actually save us. Maybe that's just me being too far gone and my lack of trust with what hasn't happened thus far in the NCAA, but that's where I am.
Here's where I believe that you're wrong, Cole, because there are people out there. It has not been the status quo for too long in the insanity that we have now, that people don't remember what it was like before. And they also don't want to make improvements onto what it could be. People remember kind of when you didn't have mass transfers and guys playing for 3, 4, 5, 6 different schools suing to come back for another year. There's rumors, they talked about it during the Tennessee Vanderbilt game the other night, that Tennessee quarterback and the Vanderbilt quarterback could sue for more eligibility coming back for another year. These guys would have been playing college football for about 35 years at this point. Most people don't know, but Diego Pavia is actually older than Aaron Rodgers, if you can believe it or not. But it's happening, right? There are players who have already I can't recall his name, but there is a guy who is on an NFL roster right now who never signed his rookie contract, and now he's thinking about suing the NCAA to get back into college football. He never played. He's on an NFL. He was drafted. He's on a roster. He's never played. He never signed his contract, and he's thinking about suing to try to get back into college football. Why? Presumably because it's more lucrative.
Yeah.
And maybe he's found a loophole to be able to sue and stay in college football. Is that really what we want? Do we want 30-year-olds playing college football?
But that's what we have, though.
It's where we're headed. And it seems as if, and if you haven't noticed, and some of you kind of tune out when the commercials come on during your favorite sports broadcasts, if you've seen all these ads saying, email your representative, tell them to vote yes for the SCORE Act, that is exactly what is attempting to actually add some teeth and the ability to set some rules to this new college sports commission. They're essentially moving on from the NCAA. Sorry, guys, you had your chance. You screwed the pooch too badly. Now we're doing this college sports commission thing, and we're going to try to get a handle on it this way. But this act attempts to kind of redress a lot of the issues that we all have so many problems with. And it's getting to the point, Cole, and when representatives from Texas are getting involved, they mean business.
Yeah,
they're coming after this thing pretty hard.
I just think ultimately, Diesel, so many fans of the sport that we all fell in love with years ago, so many fans are still hanging on, but they're still at the same time just so distraught.
Right, but
what
that's
the
what this
sport
is
has
trying
become.
to fix.
It's not going to.
Why not?
It's not going to. I'm telling you, you cannot put all of these worms back in the can. I'm telling you, there are so many issues. I don't care if you all caps the SCORE Act, if you send it to, the legend. It doesn't matter who gets it. There are way too many issues. You're not going to fix it. You're not going to fix it.
They're trying to make it a law.
It's not going to happen.
Okay.
It's not going
to. Okay. Good Lord, Cole.
What?
I mean, I'm trying to explain to you what the legislation is attempting to put in place, and you won't listen.
I am listening.
No, you're not.
I'm not listening.
No, you're not listening.
How am I not listening?
You're not listening because I'm trying to explain to you that the law would make it possible for all of these things to happen.
I'm telling you.
And you're just saying there's no way it can happen.
I'm telling you, I don't think the law will be put into place. Isn't this what this is a debate show? Am I supposed to debate you and tell you that I think that there's no way the law is going to be put into place?
So the SCORE Act
what do you want me to say?
The SCORE Act is a bipartisan piece of legislation that would allow the NCAA and other governing bodies to create and enforce national rules regulating college sports. And again, you've seen ads for it all over the games that you've been watching lately. And this would attempt to create some rules, some guidelines, and an actual governing body that has the power to create the rules. That's the problem. That's what we've been dealing with for the last 5 years. Is the NCAA lost its power. The NCAA's power was based on its tradition and its ability to punish student athletes. Well, they've lost that ability through a myriad of lawsuits, and they can't do anything about anything anymore. So the SCORE Act is attempting to create a body that can do something about all of these issues that are plaguing the sport. Here is audio from U.S. Representative Chip Roy from the state of Texas. He represents the 21st District. You're very familiar with Texas. It kind of runs between Austin and San Antonio and then goes west for a whole bunch of miles. Here he is talking about just why this thing is so necessary.
Okay, what's your name?
I believe this bill is designed to get through, have a rule this week, and push it through with the forces of, with all respect to my friends at Texas and A&M, the SEC and the Big Ten, and a handful of others, the ACC, my undergraduate alma mater. With all respect, they're pushing this hard. I think the gentleman from Massachusetts asked some good questions about coaches. I mean, why in the hell are we allowing coaches to walk out and be paid not to coach for years? It's insane. I mean, what we just saw unfold with Lane Kiffin is just an absolute abomination. People say, well, this is the market working, Chip. This is the market forces at play. This is not supposed to be a market, not in that classic sense. Yes, college sports can compete with the NFL for revenue. Yes, college sports can compete with other entertainment dollars. I get that. But this is not supposed to be NFL light. But yet that's how we're treating it. And now we're trying to sort of bastardize this whole thing with a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. That's what we're doing. And I don't think it's sufficient. I think we should have amendments. I don't know what we're doing, what the powers that we have here in engaging and interfering with states. But if we're going to take a big federal step because a federal court intervened, and we're going to intervene, well, then maybe we should fully intervene. Maybe we should fix the damn mess so that we don't have, 16 teams in the SEC and 17 teams in the ACC and 19 teams in the Big Ten and frigging Stanford and Berkeley on the West Coast in the Atlantic Coast Conference, all because of money. I mean, it's just laughable that this is anything but about a massive money grab and a shuffling around of how to.
So he is essentially laying out that the conferences want this, that the fans want this, and that it has gotten too far. It's gotten to the point of being ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so far, up until recently, and I'm saying with this piece of audio in the last week or so, government officials have basically said, we don't really want to be involved in this. We want to keep our hands free of this industry. We don't want to have to do this. But here we are. We've got representatives pushing through legislation, and it sounds as if it's designed to be able to get through fairly quickly that could actually try to redress some of the big time problems in college football.
Yeah, and I think as you said, most fans, I think 99% of fans out there want it to happen. What I was trying to get at a few minutes ago when you got upset with me is, Diesel, I don't think all of the lawmakers will pass it through. Do you believe that? Do you think?
I don't know. I genuinely
that's all
don't.
I was saying, though. That's all I was saying is I don't think they'll pass it through. And what I'm saying is there are a lot of cons that lawmakers will have issues with. I'm for it. We're all for it. I think everybody's for it. What I think you misunderstood me is that I'm saying I don't think it'll happen. This is unprecedented before, or this is unprecedented. This has never happened before. I think there will be a lot of lawmakers who try to block this from happening.
Well, it's going to be interesting to find out. We don't know exactly how many lawmakers support this at this point. If this Representative Chip Roy from Texas is speaking into the ether, or if he speaks for a lot of lawmakers who see the same things. I mean, I think like anything, if you can get a large chunk of the SEC in the Big Ten districts of lawmakers involved, I think that there is a good chance that this thing could pass through. Let's go to the phone line to bring in Steven. Welcome to the show, Steven.
Hey, guys. I was just wanting to call and say this is a great conversation about legislation. I'm glad we're having it, but I did have one question for Diesel today.
Sure.
And that is, how about them Cowboys?
I'm not an Eagles fan. How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, how about them Cowboys, Diesel? I just feel like we hadn't had enough Cowboys on the show this week. I wanted to make sure that I brought it up today bright and early in the show and bring it back to the forefront.
I'm with you.
I know you were missing talking about it.
Let's talk about it for 4 hours, Steven. You want to?
Hey, I'm all game. Listen, I'm a Panthers fan, but my second team before the Panthers were around, my daddy was a Cowboys fan, has been his whole life. So that's my second team now. Ever since Stephen Davis went to the Carolina Panthers, I started pulling for them because I went to school with him.
So the Cowboys are your side piece.
Yeah, they're my side piece.
All right.
I like it.
Thanks, Steven. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, there's a lot of people who I don't know how many people are paying attention to all the ads that you get for this, but if you are paying attention to it and you actually write to your congressman and say, hey, I really think this legislation has a lot of merit because college football is in trouble, hopefully they'll listen to you, right? I mean, just you can email your congressman every day asking for a new law. Doesn't mean that they're going to do it. Doesn't mean that they're going to support this. But if enough people think that it's a good idea, then I think maybe it could be something that gets passed.
I wonder what the smaller schools will have to say about it. I was reading something to where the smaller schools out there, I guess they wouldn't have any say if it gets passed. But when it comes to the schools that are going to be negatively affected, I guess, I think there are a lot of small schools out there who, and again, I don't know, we'd have to see what cause and effect would do to this. But
by small, do you mean FCS, G5, Division 2,
G5? Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm for it. I just don't know, if I guess I just have such little faith that, that something will actually come out of it.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to get a hold of something here and try to slow down this rampant spiral into something that is not positive for the sport. Think about this, Cole. Ole Miss, Oregon, and BYU are all going to be without head coaches, offensive coordinators, or their offensive coordinators are going to be on the way out the door once the playoff is done, once they've lost. Tulane, North Texas, James Madison, all teams that are vying for a college football playoff spot, all know that their coaches are going to be departing, and then that means a large chunk of their teams are going to be departing at the end of the season. You can't tell me that the college football playoff is in a healthy place when big schools who have fallen on hard times, talking about Penn State, LSU, Florida, etc., they are hiring away the coaches that are about to go play in the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. That's not a healthy spot. Now the playoff is hurt. The playoff is diminished. And that's what all this is designed to move you towards, right? The playoff. And if we're screwing over the playoff by hiring away head coaches and coordinators right before the playoff starts, then we're going to get a worse playoff.
Well, you have Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss, George McDonald, Billy Glasslock, let's see, Nick Savage, Will Stein. I'm probably missing a few here.
Kalani Sitake.
Yeah, the BYU guy, right? Has that been official?
He's labeled as a top target for Penn
so
State.
You're going to have a mass exodus. And again, it just goes back to the bottom line here is there's nobody in charge. And I heard Paul Feinbaum talking about it this morning. There's nobody in charge of anything that's happening. And I think that's what the root of the issue is, that there's no governing body. And the fact that we're having to have the government step in, I mean, it's the stability of college football is just eroding. It is just sad.
Well, if the government doesn't step in, and I understand how loaded of a statement that is, if the government doesn't step in, nobody can. It's not that nobody will, it's that nobody can.
Oh, yeah.
The federal government is essentially the last body that can step in and say, oh, okay, all right, y'all knock it off. This is getting too crazy back there in the back seat.
Well, I guess every college football fan in America should hope, I guess, that they come in and they fix it. And then I guess the conversation becomes, do we trust them to get it right? And maybe they do. I mean, I'm not saying they don't, but do we trust the government to actually get it right?
Well, my understanding is that this gives the College Sports Commission the teeth to make their own rules. As in, it's not lawmakers making the rules. It's giving the rule makers the power to make their own rules and actually enforce their own rules.
Yeah.
Right? It would be like turning the clock back and giving the NCAA its power, but also not undoing what some people would consider some positive change in the sport, in that players are getting paid and they have a little more freedom of movement.
Dewey says what college football has become is a travesty, stealing coaches and players before a national championship is crowned. How do you take the college football playoff seriously? Texter from the 803 says the playoff is not the best teams. It's a TV show to get the most views. Texter also says without all these crazy new rules, the Vanderbilt at Georgia Tech would have been of the world, would not even be close to competing, but I still don't like it.
I do like how, on that surface that NIL and the portal has given Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech the power to become disruptors. If they're willing to invest, they can become disruptors. And I just saw that a 5-star quarterback who was committed to Georgia just flipped to Vanderbilt, which was unheard of years ago.
There's good things that have come from it, no doubt. I mean, we like the parity aspect, but it does feel like there's been more bad than good. And I think that's the worrisome part if you're a fan of what college football once was. Speaking of what it once was, Alabama came out today and said they have made major changes to future football schedules. Kirk Herbstreit quoted the tweet, and we get into what Kirk Herbstreit had to say. Simply put, the College Football Playoff Committee, in my opinion, is to blame for this. We'll get into it next.
This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
If Texas played Old Dominion this year instead of Ohio State, they would be a 10-2 team. And I believe the playoff conversation, not only tonight, but next week and this coming Sunday, would look a lot different. What am I talking about? Well, Kirk Herbstreit tweeted out today, Diesel Tolos. He quoted Alabama's future schedule changes. And Kirk's exact words, his exact tweet, read out, "Get ready to see this happen all over the sport. If it's only about how many wins you have and not who you're playing and where you're playing, you're going to see every AD make these same moves. Kiss meaningful non-conference games in late August and early September goodbye. Cupcakes moving forward till teams get to conference play." That was the exact tweet from Kirk Herbstreit. And I also believe that not only was Kirk Herbstreit talking about Alabama's future schedules and their changes, Diesel, that they released today, but I also believe Kirk probably has a little more inside knowledge as to more and more programs doing this. And I think Texas this year, with that early loss to Ohio State, being the perfect example of why you'll start seeing teams, to Kirk's point, schedule the cupcakes just so they can get in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, it's Alabama and it's the SEC. They do get to schedule Chattanooga State. That's not something they get to do up in the Big Ten. You know, per Dan Lanning, they play tough, meaningful games late in the season.
But you know what? South Carolina was a victim of this as well. South Carolina last year, you look at what happened to Shane Beamer last year. We were sitting here at this very time, December 2nd of last season, talking about South Carolina being a bubble playoff team. And, you know, they had 3 losses, and theirs weren't all identical to what Texas's losses are. Theirs were, you know, more in conference. And now you're talking about a Texas team that has a loss out of conference to Ohio State. This is what college football is becoming, kind of going off of our last segment. When you talk about the ramifications that the college football playoff expansion has, that the playoff committee has, I think they are to blame. I think the expanded college football playoff is to blame. I think the playoff committee is to blame. People thought that expanding the playoffs would be a great thing. But I think we're starting to see those consequences that we as fans now have to face. And I don't believe that you're going to see as many teams, to Kirk's point, schedule those tough September and August football games.
Well, I'm looking at Alabama's future schedule right now. FBschedules.com, great place to do it. You can see all the future games that are scheduled. And for 2026, Alabama, and he retweeted the Alabama schedule change, East Carolina, Florida State at home, and a TBD schedule game against Chattanooga. For 2027, they got Marshall and at Ohio State. 2028, Ohio State, UT Martin, an FCS school, and at Oklahoma State. So looking at Alabama's future non-conference, I'm not really sure where Kirk Herbstreit is coming from, because I see in most seasons a Power 4 out-of-conference team. Next year for Alabama, it's Florida State. Granted, that's, you know, way too late for them to try to reschedule a game like that. They got a regional G5 team that is on its way back. East Carolina is better than they've been for a while. And Chattanooga, an FCS school. I don't see how this is all that different from what they've already had. Some years they've got 2 Power 4 teams scheduled. 2030 at Georgia Tech and Notre Dame. 2031, Georgia Tech, Boston College. 2032, Arizona and Minnesota. I think they got some decently tough opponents. And who knows, with the portal and NIL, who knows if Arizona and Minnesota get some rich donors who are willing to throw $50 million at a roster and decide to turn the Gophers into a power.
Yeah, and some of these moves that you're talking about don't look like they have anything to do with eliminating the meaningful non-conference games. That's why I believe that Kirk probably, with his place and position in college football, probably knows of more of these things to come, because we talked about it with Clemson and South Carolina. Fans wanted to go to a 9-game conference schedule. We knew this was coming, right? And you also throw in the fact the SEC still has a requirement that every member play a Power 4 opponent in non-conference, right? I think that's correct. Look, I love the fact that we're having this conversation, because I do think that when we're sitting in the first few days of December, we do need legitimate test. When you talk about a team like Texas, who tonight we're going to find out just what the committee values, we do need these litmus tests. We do need to know, Diesel, and find out just how good these teams are. And I think when you go back and look at that one touchdown win for Ohio State over Texas in the very opening weekend of college football, it does tell us a lot about both teams. But I think Steve Sarkisian would argue, and I think Shane Beamer would argue, and I think a lot of other coaches out there would argue, what incentive do I have to go schedule that game in the future if come December 2nd, we're going to be at the next to last college football playoff ranking, and you're telling me that because I have 3 losses and lost to an Ohio State team to open the season, I'm going to be punished for it?
You know, we're in a weird situation where the criteria for what they value is a big fat question mark, and it seems to change not on a season by season basis, but on a week by week basis. And that just doesn't jive with the fact that these programs are setting up schedules 10 years in advance. I mean, again, looking at Alabama's schedule, they've got Virginia Tech scheduled for 2035. That's 10 years down the road. Maybe what he's talking about here is the fact that in the next couple of years, Alabama has Ohio State and Notre Dame on the schedule. But then you look beyond that into the 2030 and beyond, you see Arizona and Minnesota. Instead of Ohio State, they're playing Arizona and Minnesota. So these power teams aren't necessarily going to be playing each other. What I would like to see them do, the committee, is give you a sense, like a spot to aim for out there. Say, all right, in 2030, this is what we're going to value, and we're going to tweak it as we go along and get more data. But this is what we expect you to be able to achieve to probably be a playoff team. And then you go schedule accordingly to try to achieve what it is they tell you that you need to achieve, instead of the other way around, right?
Well,
now it's you schedule in advance, you hope you get things right, and just you wait for the committee to make their decisions.
And I guess going back to Madcraft's call yesterday, Madcraft's conversation, and wanting his Miami Hurricanes to be in, I think ultimately the problem that he and a lot of people, and myself included, Diesel, have with the committee is he brought it up yesterday. He said the words moving the goalpost. It does seem like the committee moves the criteria in terms of what the criteria is year to year. It's so hard for the committee to be consistent, I believe, when you have so many people involved, right? When you allow, I don't even know how many people are on the committee. We talked to one of the committee members back at ACC kickoff. When you have this many people, let's just say, is it 15 people on the committee? I don't know if that number's right, too high, too low.
It's 12.
Okay, 12 people on the committee. You have 12 human beings with all these different opinions. And again, I think we talked about this a lot last year with the committee valuing the eye test, best teams versus like what data actually tells them. There's just no way as a college football fan we can sit here and expect for 12 people to ever get in a room and have consistency. Right. You're just not going to have consistency with that many people.
Yeah, they're trying to judge probably about 25 teams, really, over the course of a season, and say these 25 are probably going to be the teams that are in the running once we get to the end of this thing. Then they have to multiply that by 12 games per team. And then they have to think about, all right, who was on the road, who was coming off a bye, what were the weather conditions, was the quarterback hurt, was the coach thinking about leaving? And you have to try to cram all of that into a list. That is incredibly hard. And Dewey brings up a great point. We need to bring back the BCS. I know that these guys in the committee, guys and girls, have data in front of them. They have the S&P rankings. They have all this other stuff. For them, it's a tool. It's not the end-all, be-all decision maker. Like, the computer doesn't decide what 12 teams ought to be in this, but the computer does help crunch the numbers for them and give them data so that then they can decide. And then also you've got convoluted, conference championship game requirements to get in. And I don't think anybody is debating that Miami is probably not the best team in the ACC this year, but by the virtue of who they lost to, and the tiebreaker situation, they can't even get into the ACC championship game.
No, and I think Steve Sarkisian is probably the one ringing the bell right now the loudest for this, because you look right now, and by the way, all of South Carolina's 3 losses last year were in conference. They were SEC losses. It's different this year with Texas because right now, currently today, Diesel, they sit at 16. 16 in the country in the college football playoff rankings. Ahead of them, you have the likes of Michigan, Vandy, Utah, Miami, BYU, Alabama, Notre Dame, which I think I'm starting to side with Matt Kraft more and more on this Notre Dame bias. Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Oregon, Tech, Georgia, A&M, Indiana, and Ohio State. So you go look at where Texas is currently at 16 at 8-3. Okay, let's say tonight, and we're going to get more into this conversation at 4 o'clock, but talking about why these schedules will continue to change, let's say Texas is left out. Let's say Texas is left out on Sunday. Just in a few days when the final rankings come out, right? A Texas team that lost to, let me pull the schedule back up. Ohio State 14-7. They lost to Florida, and they lost to Georgia. Georgia's certainly not a bad loss at all. Now, Florida, what was it, an 8-point, 29-21 win for Florida, right? Mm-hmm. On the road. Not a great loss for the Texas Longhorns.
And then you add in the idea of SEC supremacy, that even the bad teams in the SEC are pretty good. So you can, in your mind, you can disguise a bad loss as not so bad of a loss. And let's also not forget that Steve Sarkisian is selfishly arguing on behalf of his own team. He's got skin in the game here. I don't see Steve Sarkisian out there arguing on behalf of any other program but Texas, saying, well, that team is pretty good. I think they ought to be in the playoff. No, he's arguing for his own team.
Texter says, do you think ESPN wants non-brand names in the playoff? They pull the strings. Tron McBride on YouTube says, college football is destroyed due to some people seeing it as a money grab. Also, I don't understand what is so hard about the playoffs. The FCS has been doing it since the late 70s without problems. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just follow their business model. And think about it this way, Tron. the money grab that you talked about, when we talk about cause and effect, the money grab that has caused the playoffs has caused coaches and ADs to now Diesel schedule differently. Think about that. That's where we are in college football, all because of, back to his original point, it all is a money grab. The expansion's not about more teams getting in.
So are they going to change the rules surrounding the requirements of how you schedule? If they don't like the fact that Alabama used to play, looking at their schedules, used to play Ohio State and Florida State, Notre Dame to start the season. Now they're playing Arizona and Minnesota. Are they going to jump in there and start to set some kind of requirements that you got to schedule at least one team that finished in the top 25 last year? Well, if that's the case, then you can't schedule 10 years out in advance if you need to have the flexibility of scheduling a team that finished inside the top 25.
All right, crazy, wild breaking news. And I'm trying to confirm that this is true. On 3 Sports, 1 minute ago, Diesel, Charlie Weiss is returning to Ole Miss as offensive coordinator to coach the playoffs. The school announced just now, mind you, Charlie Weiss boarded a plane to Baton Rouge with Lane Kiffin on Sunday.
What?
This is breaking news. No lie. No lie.
Wow.
He boarded a plane with Lane Kiffin on Sunday. Fast forward 2 days. I guess he saw Louisiana and dipped. I don't know. I don't know if it was cold feet. How does that happen?
Is he going to stay on Lane's staff at LSU? Is he going to rejoin Lane afterwards?
That's what I'm trying to.
Wow.
What? I mean, On 3 is reporting it.
You're not letting Lane back in the building, but you're letting potentially a representative of Lane Kiffin come back in and coach. I mean, does that affect the committee? Maybe they got wind that the committee was going to bump Ole Miss down the rankings because they lost their entire offensive staff, and they thought, hey, we gotta keep them from knocking them out of the playoff.
God. In the article on 3, it does say staying at Ole Miss long term appears to be an option for Weiss. Now, former defensive coordinator Pete Golding, as we all know, is taking over as the permanent head coach. With him now having to not only try to win a playoff game and win a national championship, Diesel, but also fill an offensive staff. I am truly, I mean, the first two segments of this show, we've talked college football and what's wrong with this sport. And to get this breaking news is what in the world?
Maybe Lane was just being a total tool in Baton Rouge, and Charlie Weiss Jr. said, you know what? I'm actually not – I don't want to work for you, Lane. I want to go back to Oxford. And would Pete Golding hire him back to his staff after he already left once?
How does this happen? I am truly – by the way, this guy, does he not look just like an actor that we all know?
Oh, my God. That's Mark Wahlberg.
That's what I thought. I literally thought, why is Mark Wahlberg going to Ole Miss? And then I clicked the article and it says, no, it looks just like him. So it looks like it's true. On3 Sports is reporting it. Hopefully we can get some details of what happened, because that is wild. I've never heard of anything like this. Him getting on the plane Sunday with Lane Kiffin and backing out, being fired. I don't know.
I am shocked.
Whew.
You advocated for it yesterday. Kirk Herbstreit advocated for it, that Lane should be allowed to stay and coach the playoff. I don't remember if you advocated for that or not, but look around all these coaches that are leaving. Most of their schools are giving them the permission to stick around, and they know they're probably going to lose a couple extra players to that other school because they let the coach stick around long enough to have an opportunity to recruit them.
That is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. We've got to get some news on. We've got to get the inside, the scoop, as they say.
I will text Michael Borky during the break and see if he has anything on that. He is Sports Talk Mississippi. He's plugged in.
Wow.
When we come back, let's see what else is happening in the sports world. Whip it around with our Daily Wires.
244 Fan Phone. This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Quick hitters all over the sports world. These are our daily wires. The buzz. Penn State's coaching search is focusing in on BYU head coach Kalani Sitake. The sides have been in discussion, but sources caution that no deal has been signed yet. The sides have met. There is mutual interest, but no discussions involving staff have happened.
So you're going to try to convince your fan base and donors and boosters that James Franklin wasn't good enough, but we're going to hire the BYU coach. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, no disrespect to him, but when you fire James Franklin, Diesel, that puts you in a spot where you've got to go get like the biggest fish possible. And I don't, that is, we'll see.
His head coaching record is 83-44. Not good.
I'm telling you, that would blow my mind. That's not a good look for Penn State, in my opinion.
I mean, 2 back-to-back really good. He's turned BYU around. BYU was 5-7 his first year, 11-2 year 2, 11-1 so far in year 3. I mean, BYU had been up and down before he got there, and he seems to have stabilized the program. We'll see.
Better hit.
Next up is that the New York Mets and reliever Devin Williams agreed to a 3-year, $51 million deal, giving the club a replacement for Edwin Diaz should the All-Star closer sign somewhere else. The contract has no opt-outs or options, but includes a $6 million signing bonus spread out over 3 seasons. Kentucky hired Oregon offensive coordinator Will Stein as the school's next head football coach. I'm honored and excited to become the next head coach at Kentucky, Stein said. Growing up in Kentucky and sitting in the stands at UK games as a kid, I could only dream of one day leading the Wildcats. This is truly a dream come true.
Maybe this is the ramifications of everybody firing their coach in one season is we react by saying,
well, would you rather coach in Kentucky or Oregon?
Yeah.
And again, SEC job opportunities don't come around all that, especially when it's your home state.
Yeah.
And a school that you're a fan of. Miami AD Dan Radakovich told ESPN yesterday that the ACC should revisit its tiebreaker system to ensure the conference puts its best foot forward in the conference championship game. Number 12, Miami finished in a 5-way tie for second place in the ACC at 6-2, but Duke made it to the championship game against Virginia based on the 5th tiebreaker, which was conference opponent win percentage. Quote, we've got to get a little better at that. I can't tell you what the answer is right now, but I think we've got to look at some different things, and that might be able to streamline that and make sure that the league is going to put its best foot forward.
That's interesting. Real quick, also some breaking news, Diesel. Sources confirmed on 3 Sports that Joey McGuire of Texas Tech has a new deal. And listen to this. 7 years, $7 million annually. That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
By the way, he does have Texas Tech playing in their first Big 12 title game this weekend.
Fascinating. I got some confirmation from Michael Borky of Sports Talk Mississippi that the rumor is true. Charlie Weiss Jr. is coming back to coach for the Ole Miss Rebels in the CFP. I asked him to further confirm whether or not he is being rehired by Ole Miss or if he's going to go back and rejoin Lane Kiffin after the season is over. He doesn't know. He said, though, if I had to bet, I bet he's not coaching at either LSU or Ole Miss next year.
And here is more breaking news, a statement from Lane Kiffin just literally seconds ago on Charlie Weiss returning to Ole Miss. Lane said, Diesel, with the playoff committee releasing updated rankings tonight, I wanted it to be known that after conversations with LSU, we are allowing Charlie to return to Ole Miss to coach the team during the playoffs. I've already made the committee aware of this, and I'm hopeful this decision will allow Ole Miss to receive the highest ranking possible because of these great players deserving of that. I'm excited that Charlie will be back to help coach the greatest team in the history of Ole Miss.
Fascinating.
That I've never in my life heard anything like this.
Yeah, but, I mean, you still got to think that they would dock them a spot because the head coach isn't there. I mean, the OC incredibly important, but the head coach is still not going to be there.
Oh,
Heads up to you, Tolos, at the end of the next segment. So at the end of the 4:00 segment, we're going to give away a pair of tickets to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra. We're also going to have a chance for you to win in the 5:00 segment. Last night, the Patriots beat the Giants 33-15. The Patriots are now the NFL's best 11-2 overall.
They do look good.
In that game, Giants first-round pick Abdul Carter was benched for the first quarter because of tardiness. It was the second time in 3 games that Abdul was disciplined. Giants interim coach Mike Kafka described it as his decision. Carter sat out 2 drives, both of which resulted in points for the Patriots. Carter was asked about it afterwards, and he says, bleep happens. I'm not going to go into details, but bleep happens.
Do you realize, as highly touted as Abdul Carter was coming out of the draft, last night on December the 1st, Abdul Carter logged his first sack in the NFL. It took him that. He has not panned out. And I'm not going to use the B word yet, but he's fallen short of expectations. I'll just say that.
More on the Giants. Quarterback Jackson Dart, if you were watching, took a huge hit near the end of the first quarter in that game. But Jackson said he wouldn't change a thing. He said, we're not playing soccer out here. He sat out the 2 previous games because of a concussion, and he was checked for a concussion in 4 of the previous 8 games. It seems like he and Cam Scadabo just all about hitting their heads on stuff.
I'm telling you, that one hit he took on the sideline was about as bad of a hit, and it was his fault. I mean, he didn't give himself up, but my gosh, that's kind of an old school football hit that we all love to see, but hopefully the guy stands up, right?
Tonight in top 25 NCAA basketball action, number 15 Florida at number 4 Duke. The Blue Devils favored by 8.5. Number 5 UConn will play at number 21 Kansas. Number 16 North Carolina at number 18 Kentucky. Tonight, former Wofford head coach Mike Young brings his 6-2 Virginia Tech Hokies to Columbia to face the Gamecocks at 7:00. Tomorrow, 7-1 Clemson will play at number 12 Alabama.
Whoa.
After undergoing disc replacement surgery, Tiger Woods said he's started chipping and putting last week, but doesn't know when he might return to competitive golf. He spoke to reporters at the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas and said that his recovery has been slow. This was Tiger's 7th back surgery. And finally, Liberty co-offensive coordinator and quarterback coach and former Burns Rebel Willie Korn has informed the Liberty staff and players that he is leaving college football to work in private business. He has played for or worked with Jamie Chadwell for the last 15 years.
That one was surprising. That one really surprised me today.
I thought he was going to be a head coach one day.
I really thought he would stay in coaching, but man, getting out of coaching completely. We mentioned it. We prefaced Diesel talking about what happens tonight. Does Ole Miss get punished? A wild developing story involving Charlie Weiss, Lane Kiffin, and what happens to Ole Miss tonight. We'll get into it next. A little bit of breaking news, as we've had a lot of breaking news today already. The ACC Diesel has announced the 2025 All-ACC football team with the 2025 Atlantic Coast Conference Football Championship approaching on Saturday. The ACC unveiled its star-studded All-ACC football teams on Tuesday. That's their wording, not mine. Miami.
Conference of quarterbacks.
Right. Miami led the way. There you go, Madcraft. Miami led the way with a league best 14 all ACC selections across the first, second, and third teams. The Hurricanes were also one of the 4 programs with Cal, Clemson, and Georgia Tech to land 4 players on the first team. Duke and Virginia followed with 8 total honorees each, while Louisville and Pitt added 7 standouts apiece across 3 teams. First team offense. Do you want to guess, if you have not seen it already, Diesel, who first team all ACC quarterback was? Who was the best quarterback in the ACC?
I'm going to guess and say that it was Carson Beck.
Haynes King.
Haynes King, okay.
Received 200 votes.
Interesting.
And the Daily Wire's music is still playing. I was like, what is that music? Hollywood Smothers of NC State Diesel's your first team running back. Deuce Robinson of Florida State on there as a receiver. The only Clemson Tiger on offense is Blake Miller, offensive tackle.
Wow.
Yep. Defensively?
No Antonio Williams?
No.
What?
No, you did not. Let me make sure. No Antonio Williams.
Jeez.
On the defensive side of the football, you did get Clemson's Peter Woods, as you can imagine, Sammy Brown, linebacker, right, and Avion Terrell. Those were the 1, 2, 3 Clemson Tigers on defense, and no specialist.
From a unit in the secondary that most people would say was pretty mediocre to bad this year.
Meh.
And they got 3 guys off of that defense on there?
Got 3. Well, who else are you going to give it to?
Peter
the
Woods,
ACC.
the lineman. You said Sammy Brown and Avian Terrell?
Yep. That's
God.
it. So there's your ACC.
Standard is low.
I'm telling you. 2025 all ACC football teams. There you have it, Tolo's. Reminder, we've got Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central coming up in the very next segment as we're joined by Jack every Tuesday. A big one for South Carolina basketball. You said, is that tomorrow night or is that tonight? Virginia Tech?
Is,
put you on the spot there.
Tonight.
Gamecocks and Virginia Tech.
Yes, tonight.
7
o'clock.
Might have time to ask Jack about that as well. That's a big out-of-conference game for the Gamecocks. But let's dissect what happens tonight. Also, reminder, in 15 minutes, we're giving away TSO tickets.
That's
is that right?
Correct. Coming up in 15 minutes. Before we get there, can I share a crazy stat with you?
Yes.
Somebody just sent me this. This is the list of the longest tenured coaches in the SEC, and it's not going to come as a surprise to anyone that Kirby Smart is the longest tenured head coach in the SEC. Second longest tenured. And it feels like he just got there like last year. Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. It's been there since 2020. Then it goes Beamer, Heupel, Sarkisian, and Clark Lee in 2021. So those guys have been there for 4 years, five full seasons.
Yeah.
Venables in 2022, DeBoer in 2024, Lebby, Elko, all of them in 2024.
Jeez.
And then this year, you're going to have 6 new head coaches in the SEC. Ryan Silverfield at Arkansas, Alex Golish at Auburn, John Summerall at Florida, blanking on his name there. We just had him a second ago. Will Stein at Kentucky. And then you're going to say Lane Kiffin at LSU and Pete Golding at Ole Miss. So the rate at which the SEC is firing and churning coaches is accelerating. And the Big Ten is loving this. Like, hey, guys, keep ruining yourselves.
It's cutthroat.
Yep.
It's cutthroat. Tonight, Diesel, the College Football Playoff Committee rankings will drop. The big question, does Ole Miss get punished for their inevitable coaching staff chaos and recent losses? Setting the table, what we know going into tonight was Ole Miss recently lost key coaches, right? Offensive staff, strength and conditioning, etc. Schools normally try to avoid rewarding instability, right? We saw that with Florida State a couple of years ago. Their record might still be decent, but off-field chaos plus staff turnover plus a coaching exodus tends to weigh in on a program's perceived, readiness by the committee, if you will, Diesel. And then you also throw in other contenders. Some have also had head coaching changes, but some are more stable. Or you brought it up yesterday, allowed their coach to stay through the process. I can't remember exactly what coach it was, but you brought up that one school out there has decided that their coach can stay during the college football playoff run and then trot off to its new destination. And then to add on top of all of that, we just get news right before we go to break that Charlie Weiss Jr., thank you, not senior.
Where is senior nowadays?
I don't know.
Is he still coaching?
Is he still alive? I don't know. It's a good question.
I
don't know.
Come on, man.
Maybe he is. Maybe he's still alive. But Charlie Weiss Jr., breaking news if you just tuned in, it's been reported that Charlie is now going back to Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin put a statement out about it, Diesel. And the wildness of college football continues where a head coach wanted his former team that he was with 2 days ago to get in the playoff or be higher ranked. So he sends his former but current kind of OC back to Ole Miss so that they don't get punished for the sins that Lane committed. Is that right? I mean,
it seems to be the case.
World?
He's there was a texter who got in earlier that said, remember, LSU is going to match what Ole Miss would have to pay Kiffin in the playoff. Maybe Kiffin said, go back and get me my bag.
Maybe.
I mean, there's some possible truth to that. Maybe Lane got some intel that said, hey, they're gonna knock you all the way outside of the top 10, which is essentially the cutoff to get in.
Yeah.
They're gonna knock you outside the top 10 because I'm gone. I need you to go back and try to stabilize.
And I'll tell you this, what's wild about this conversation is you're talking about a guy who just blew up college football, but still, like we talked about yesterday, how crazy Lane Kiffin is. But you're telling me that Lane Kiffin still has a soft side to where he's wanting the best for his ex, right?
Well, apparently he drives around Tiger Stadium shouting, go Tigers, go Tigers.
That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, this is as wild as I've ever seen. Tolos, we want to hear from you at 844-326-3663. What are your thoughts on this new news of Lane Kiffin sending Charlie Weiss Jr. back to Ole Miss to coach so that they can be higher ranked tonight? Want to hear from you. Again, phone lines are open. Hub City Spartanburgers text line is open at 844-326-3663. What does the punishment now look like? Do you believe the reports that are true that Lane Kiffin, the statement, Diesel, that he just made a few moments ago, he's been in contact with the committee? If you don't know how convoluted college football already is, head coach just left, texting the committee. Hey,
should he even have a direct line to committee members?
This feels like something that we're just making.
It's a soap opera.
Lane Kiffin has been in contact with the committee. Evidently, there was some kind of warning that Ole Miss is going to be punished because they don't have the coaches.
Yeah. Lane
Kiffin says, no, I'll send them back. Now don't punish them. I mean, this is where we are. Now that we know what we know, what do you think the punishment is? Does Ole Miss, in your mind, get punished tonight?
I think they will. I think they will fall. And they were what, 7 last week? And
correct.
A&M in front of them lost. Will A&M fall all the way below for losing to Texas? Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. That's up for debate. But at worst, they're not going to be any worse than 7 if Lane was still there. But with him leaving, are you telling me that they might not drop Ole Miss down to like 9? Because then that's the difference between them hosting a playoff game versus not hosting a playoff game. 5, 6, 7, and 8 get to host 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that could be the difference. And something Michael brought up last week, it could be a difference of hundreds of millions of dollars to the Oxford community hosting a playoff game. And then would the university, would the city of Oxford not have cause to potentially sue the college football playoff?
Yeah, go ahead and throw that in there too. While we're at it.
Hey, everybody's suing for everything. Why not sue for this too? Like, hey, you unfairly dropped us to 9, which means we didn't get to host a playoff game, which means we lost out on $100 million plus in revenue. Pay us, CFP.
Tolos, want to hear from you. Where do you think Ole Miss will be tonight? Jacob on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line says Lane is just a garden tool doing garden tool things. You mean
Can't
like
make a hoe a house?
Oh, I
like-
thought he meant rake.
No.
He didn't mean what's another garden tool?
Spade,
No spade.
shovel.
Yeah, no, not a shovel. He's talking about a hoe. Buckeye Mike says only in the ESECPN. Buckeye Mike has so much beef with the SEC.
Man.
He also says this is why the Big Ten is better. I will say this. I do believe tonight they will. I believe they'll fall. So the scenario that you just talked about, Notre Dame's 9 from last week at 9-2.
Yeah.
Oklahoma 9-2. Who did you say? A&M lost. So A&M lost to Texas on Black Friday or whatever it was. And now Texas A&M was 3. Georgia, they won. Texas Tech won. Oregon, they're good. Ole Miss, they're good, but they lost their entire staff. And you know what?
We think.
Well, you know what's weird about that is they're sending Charlie Weiss Jr. back, but didn't Lane Kiffin call plays? Like, I know Charlie Weiss was the offensive coordinator.
No, I think Lane was just sort of like last line of defense, line of decision-making.
Well, I guess that makes sense then. So it depends. Does A&M fall from 3 all the way to 7? Do they oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack. It just depends on how much they punish A&M for a loss to, by the way, a 16-ranked Texas team who's 8-3 on the season. As far as movement goes, though, that's pretty much the gist of the movement, right? Because Bama, I mean, they had a scare late Saturday night against Auburn, but they won, and they're behind Ole Miss. I don't see A&M dropping a ton.
Do you see A&M dropping below 7?
No.
Like, could you see Ole Miss jumping, even if they didn't dock Ole Miss at all? But by virtue of them winning, they would move up to probably 6 because A&M's got to fall to somewhere.
They got to fall somewhere.
A&M fall? A road loss against an unranked SEC opponent?
Yeah, I would probably. Dewey says 13th. I guess, Dewey, do you mean is that where you think Ole Miss will be? There's no shot Ole Miss drops to 7-13, right? I would say A&M drops in my mind, like where should they be versus where do I think they'll be? I'd drop them 4 or 5 spots.
Wow.
So
you're dropping to 8 or 9?
Yeah, I would say at worst, maybe 8, but then that just puts Ole Miss in the question right there at 7 as to does Ole Miss, who won their game over the weekend, Diesel, but lost their staff, some of it's on the way back in a plane. And you talking about Texas A&M lost to Texas, who's also a team that's kind of on the fringe, that's going to be upset because they're not in because they have a loss to Ohio State. I think tonight is by far the most intriguing college football playoff ranking ever outside of the one a couple of years ago on a Sunday where Florida State got left out. You and I weren't doing a show then, but my word, this is going to be intriguing tonight, and I think there's going to be ramifications in somebody tonight. I think there's something to be said about what happened just moments ago with Charlie Weiss Jr. And then Diesel, I think the question that we have to answer is this. The question that ultimately answers the question that you and I are asking right now about what happens to Ole Miss is, does the committee show grace to Ole Miss now that Charlie Weiss Jr. is on the way back? Does the committee of these, what'd you say, 12 people, they say, okay, well, now that you're sending Weiss back to Ole Miss, we're good. We're not going to punish him. But if Charlie Weiss Jr. wouldn't have been at Ole Miss, we would have punished him, because that's what it certainly sounds like. That's what it comes down to.
God, does it make it sound like these conferences now need to start scheduling an extra week during conference championship week so that the teams that don't make their conference championship game would have the ability to maybe win and be impressive to get an extra data point? I mean, they've already talked about maybe turning the SEC championship into a 4-team tournament to win the SEC. Like, why not have Ole Miss take on who would be the fourth? Ole Miss A&M. Why not have Ole Miss A&M to get an extra data point?
Well, I'll tell you this. These final rankings that are coming out Sunday, in my mind, are I don't want to say a waste.
Yeah.
Like, we have rankings tonight. We have rankings Sunday. I guess what I'm trying to say here is, Diesel, that it almost feels like conference championships are just in the way now. That's what it feels like.
For what it's worth, Texas A&M in the AP top 25 dropped to 7. Ole Miss stayed where they were at 6.
A&M went to 7?
A&M dropped
What were
to
they?
7.
Were they 3 in the AP?
They dropped from 3 to 7. Yeah.
3 to 7. So Ole Miss is at 6 in the AP now?
Yeah, they've got Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Oregon, Texas Tech, Ole Miss as 6.
Wow.
A&M, Oklahoma, Notre Dame is 7, 8, 9. Alabama's at 10.
Let's go to the phone lines at 844-FAN-PHONE. Slooper wants to get in on the conversation. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? I did want to say earlier, y'all mentioned Antonio Williams not being All-ACC. Football posted that he was. I don't know. I haven't looked at the list. But
let me
send out a post that said Antonio Williams did make it. So I don't know. Maybe they're wrong.
No, they're not wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong. Oh, yes, they are third team. We were talking just first team only. So you're right. I just looked. Thank you for bringing that up, though. That he is third team as well as Carson back. So Antonio Williams did make it, but he's third team.
Yeah, which doesn't mean much, but I didn't want to say that. I was y'all are talking about Texas A&M, and I don't know, man. This year in the playoffs, it feels like it's whoever gets the reward of getting drummed by Ohio State. Like, and it really does feel like that, because we're talking about a Texas A&M team. You're that far because they lost to this team, but Texas A&M is playing some of the worst football out of any of the playoff teams down the stretch. They should have lost to South Carolina. And I'm a Clemson fan, and that South Carolina team is bad. Yeah. We are bad. They are really bad.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And at this point, Texas A&M should just be happy to be in the playoffs. I mean, if you're playing that bad of football down the stretch,
and there's something to be said about that too, Slooper, because you take the flip side, Texas, who wasn't playing good at the beginning of the season. Now you could argue Texas is playing as good as football as anybody.
Yeah, and now it's 12 teams in it. You can't really. I mean, with 12 teams, you start. Okay.
Sorry about that, man. We're going to have to let you go.
Sorry, Slooper. Your phone is breaking up there.
Bad connection.
Appreciate you. Hey, our phone lines now are wide open, which means, Tolos, if you want to score 2 tickets to Trans-Siberian Orchestra, the 4 p.m. performance of TSO Friday, December 12th at Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville, call now. Be caller number 7 at 844-326-3663. Again, caller number 7 at 844-FAN-PHONE. Going to score 2 tickets to the 4 p.m. showing next Friday, December 12th. This year's the vinyl debut of Beethoven's Last Night. It's the return of TSO's beloved fan signing line after every show. It's going to be a great night for TSO, and you could be there if you're caller number 7. And on the other side of the break, Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central.
is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Well, exit interviews, I'm sure, are happening right now in Columbia between Shane Beamer and his players, and it kind of feels like that's what we're doing right now with Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central, an exit interview on the season. Jack, I'm sure in these interviews, Shane Beamer is asking players like, how did you feel like you improved this season? Do you agree with how much playing time you got? But if you were Jeremiah Donati and you were conducting the same kind of interview with Shane Beamer, what would you be asking Shane?
I think, how are you going to get this fixed, I think, is the big question of, we know they're going to make an offensive coordinator hire. We know they're going to make an OL hire. We know they're going to, bring in certain players and cut certain players loose. My question, though, is besides that, what else are you going to do differently to try and get this thing right? Like, do you make some adjustments to your off-season workout program? Do you emphasize something more than other things? Like different little aspects like that can really go a long way. So I would say probably that would probably be, what I'm asking right now.
Jack, what was most disappointing in your mind about what the Gamecocks couldn't do on Saturday?
I think just the way they were kind of outplayed and outcoached from start to finish, honestly. I think it was a little bit surprising to see just how it's not even like Clemson played particularly amazing. I think they were pretty good defensively in the second half, shutting South Carolina out and getting the pick six. But I think Clemson didn't dominate offensively, but they didn't have to because South Carolina made plenty of mistakes to get in its own way. And, you're going to lose games when you turn the ball over 4 times and you don't convert on third and fourth down. So that's ultimately what happened on Saturday, and it's not surprising to see a South Carolina loss.
Jack, I've seen this sentiment all over social media. I'm sure you have as well. We had a texter say something about this yesterday. Lenore Sellers on the sideline, smiling and laughing it up with his teammates after committing a turnover. Is that frustration with player reactions just a fundamental misunderstanding of who Lenore Sellers is as a person? Is it a misunderstanding of the, be a goldfish mantra that coaches try to impart on players? How do fans want Lenore and players like that to react in that situation? If he sulks, they get on him for sulking. If he smiles, they get on him for not taking it seriously. If he stands there stoically, fans get on him for not caring too much.
Yeah, it's a battle you can simply not win. Regardless of what you do, if you're him, you can't win. And look, I've seen people freaking out about the fact that he's laughing and whatnot. And I all I've seen is one little snapshot of him with a little bit of a smirk on his face. So unless I'm missing something, I think it's being blown way out of proportion. Now, after the game, that's a different story. Kind of as soon as he was asked point blank if he's going to be staying next year, he was kind of giggling and laughing, and then he kind of answered the question. But yeah, I don't know where his head's at right now with all this. It's not ideal to be so relaxed and so chill after a loss. Even the other players were kind of like that as well. But that's kind of just the story of the season here, is that South Carolina just was not great throughout the entire season, and that kind of starts with your quarterback.
So what was your takeaway from that answer he gave? Because you're right, he kind of did almost laugh it off in a way, and then gave a very political answer, and nobody really knows your response to what he said, and then on the flip side, what your gut tells you about Lenore's returning.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. It was a very political type of answer that when the time comes to make a decision, he'll make a decision, which he's right. He does have a little bit of time here to kind of decide what he wants to do. I've kind of teetered back and forth on what I think he's going to do. I think it was either you guys or on one of our programs at Gamecock Central, I was saying that I think he's going to come back to South Carolina. I say that, but I don't know, honestly. It's hard to get a real gauge on what this guy's going to do because it's been so vague with some of his answers and just his mannerisms and whatnot. Like, some days I'm just like after Saturday, I'm kind of like, I think he's going to leave. Like, he just kind of looked like a guy that just wasn't very interested in coming back to South Carolina. But I don't know. maybe I got the wrong vibe. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and he will come back to South Carolina. So, guys, it's really the $1 million question, and it's really hard to give an answer on it right now. My gut is going to tell me that right now I'm going to stick to my guns and say that he comes back to South Carolina, just because that would not surprise me. But I could certainly see a way in which he just goes to the NFL draft. I think it really just depends on what the draft grades are looking like and what the scouts are thinking.
You know, Jack, you look at the way Lenoris played in that game. Yeah, he had a couple of big, long touchdown throws in the first half, but he also made a ton of mistakes, multiple picks, multiple fumbles. I mean, those are on him. That's execution. That's focus. That's protecting the football. That's not necessarily, a bad play call that put him in a bad situation. So I guess maybe a follow-up to that question is, do you think no matter what, Lenoris is coming back to a college next year, or do you think he still has what it takes right now to go be an NFL quarterback this offseason?
Me personally, after watching him play this year, I don't think he's ready to be an NFL quarterback right now. That said, not immediately. I think teams are still going to be very interested in him, in drafting him. I don't know if it's first round or whatever, maybe late first round. Teams are going to be interested in drafting him based off of his potential and his skill set. Like, that's evident. Like, the stats are the stats. But there have definitely been times throughout this season, and even going back to last year more so, that he's been a really good quarterback. Not maybe at times this year, but I do think a lot of teams would take him based off of his upside. And I think, he's not ready to be the starter day one, I don't think. I think in this day and age of the NFL, you draft a rookie and you want them to immediately start right away. But there's been cases where guys wait a year and they sit behind a veteran. I think that would be what serves Lenoris well. But ultimately, I think he would be better served to get a year of development at the college level. I think of the three scenarios of staying at Carolina, NFL, or transfer portal bound. I feel like the portal is probably the last of those three options. I mean, look, he stayed at South Carolina last year when I'm sure, Zach, there were a ton of big-time offers out there with lots of money going around to go to other schools, but he stayed at South Carolina. He's an in-state guy. It'd be different if he were an out-of-state guy at South Carolina, but this is his home, and he's got everything he needs here, I think.
Jack, has anything been said about the relationship, or maybe better put, correlation of the relationship in terms of the OC that comes in having any, sway on if Lenoris comes back?
So, Lenoris mentioned something kind of interesting the other day talking to the media on Saturday, was that Shane Beamer has mentioned a few names to him, and they've watched some tape together on some different coordinators and what they like, what they don't like, and, getting Lenoris' opinion on it. Now, I think ultimately it's going to have to be Shane's decision. Like, I think there's a certain line where you can't have these guys, like a quarterback or other outside input, having too much thought process and opinion on making the hire, because look at what happened with Mike Shula when all the players wanted him, including the quarterbacks wanting Shula to be the new OC, and then you got what you got out of that, fired 10 games later. So you don't want the same scenario to happen here with this next hire. Look, ultimately, I think you got to take Lenoris' opinion into account for some extent, but at the end of the day, this has got to be what Shane feels is best, and if that means Lenoris stays or he leaves, I think shouldn't really be too much of a factor. I think you got to make the hire that's best for the program.
Jack, I've read the rumor that John David Baker, who was recently at East Carolina, is a target for the OC job. I don't know if that's true or not, but have you heard any other names floating around of guys that Shane really wants to reach out to?
Yeah, I've seen the rumor too about John David Baker, and I think that's really all it is at this point. I know over on Gamecock Central, it has not been confirmed yet. There's a lot of different things going around out there, so you never know what's true and what's false. I've seen Decker be a name that's been brought up online, the guy from Old Dominion. I think he could be pretty good as well, especially since ODU's quarterback, who really had a great season. I mean, go look at his numbers. It's incredible what he did this year. for the Monarchs. He's in the portal. So, those are seemingly the early names. I know Jason Beck's been thrown around a little bit since he has a little bit of a connection to Lenoris. So nothing concrete right now. It's more so just rumors and, online chatter than anything right now, I'd say. But, Shane and his staff are definitely moving quickly on this.
Jack Veltri, Gamecock Central, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. What's the best bad rumor or topic being talked about on your message boards right now?
I think it really is just the overall frustration with the season and what Beamer's got to do to get this thing right. Obviously, the offensive coordinator hiring process is definitely a hot topic right now, but I think just the overall frustration of the season, I think, is what a lot of people are talking about right now.
What's the timeline look like, Jack?
With the hiring process? So Shane has talked publicly about how he wants to get this thing done sooner rather than later, talking about it probably right after the Clemson game, which, it's been a few days since then. And, he did say he doesn't necessarily it's not a big deal if he doesn't get the hire made by early signing day tomorrow. Ideally, you'd like to get this thing done by the end of the week, I would say, but, very soon here, I would imagine.
At this point, is it safe to say that, Mike Furry not in the running at all for the job? And, has he done enough to at least stay on staff at South Carolina? I know he was kind of elevated into a role that he didn't sign up for, but is there enough meat on that bone to keep him around?
Definitely. I think it'd be crazy to let a guy like him go. I mean, honestly, I think what's probably going to end up happening is he ends up reverting back to the wide receivers coach / pass game coordinator, maybe give him a little bit of a bump up and raise. I'm not sure. I think he's done a great job bringing in some really talented receivers, developing Nick Harbor and Dre Jacobs into having really strong seasons at the wide receiver position. I mean, he's done a great job. That said, I still think, given the rumors that are out there, I still think that you're going to end up seeing South Carolina go externally here to look for this offensive coordinator. Mike's done a serviceable enough job, but getting shut out in the second half against Clemson and shut out in the second half against Texas A&M, I think was probably what sealed the deal for him.
So on the personnel side of things, what does the mass exodus? Is it mass? Is it not mass? What does the exodus look like in terms of the players leaving?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it's going to be important to keep a lot of the young guys here. I think you're going to see definitely some guys declare for the NFL draft. I think Jalen Kilgore is probably one that we'll probably see go to the draft. He had a very good season overall, and now he's a junior. And I think we all kind of have that expectation of whenever he does become eligible and he has a good enough year like he did this season, kind of similar to Nicky Minwari in a lot of ways when he decided to declare. I think that's what we're going to see here with Jalen. Lenoris, we'll see what happens with him. I think it could really go either way. You're definitely going to see guys transfer, no doubt about it. But as you always do, there will be enough turnover on this roster, just like last year, just like the year before. So I expect it to be pretty similar to what we've seen here in years past, but at the same time, keeping some of that young core that you've developed this year.
Jack, does it bum you personally out that the season is coming to a close, or are you kind of happy to turn the page and start focusing on baseball and basketball seasons?
I'm a little mixed on it. I really did enjoy getting to cover a bowl game last year and traveling for the holidays after Christmas. I mean, that was a lot of fun. I'm sure I'll be jealous of any of the other writers around the country that are getting to do that this year. The bowl weeks are always fun. I think that certainly can be said. That said, I am looking forward to the fact that the season is over, and we kind of focus on the off season here, what South Carolina is going to do to get better for 2026. And look, I'm covering basketball right now, and then baseball is pretty soon from happening right now. So less than 3 months. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, Jack, the good news is this time next year, you'll be covering a playoff team.
Yeah, that's what Shane Beamer tells us. So we'll see if that's the case.
Well, good stuff as always, man. We appreciate you, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.
Jack Veltri, Gamecock Central. They're going to be in the playoff. Don't laugh at me. What's funny? Did I make a joke?
Imagine not having to go into that football building every day when you know, man, this program's not going to a bowl game.
Yeah.
Shane's a little chippy sometimes. Like, he just doesn't feel like super exciting to be there on a day-by-day basis.
No. But basketball.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
going
they're
to
off
be
to a
better.
decent start.
Yeah, we'll see. Big one tonight.
Yep.
Should be a lot of fun, though. Thanks to Jack, as always, for coming on. Good stuff there from Jack Veltri. Make sure you give him a follow, Jack T. Veltri on Twitter, on X. Let's keep it on Beamer for a second. I believe, and my friends that know me, Diesel, and are going to hear me say this are going to say, oh, wow, it took you long enough. I think my thoughts have changed on Shane Beamer. I'll tell you what I mean next.
Ball's in your court. Sound off now at 844-FAN-PHONE.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Well, as you, Diesel, and the Tolos know, I have been in the camp for quite some time of Shane Beamer is the guy. Shane Beamer needs to be given time. Shane Beamer just needs a little bit more time, right? I've been pretty adamant that I'm Team Beamer. However, I will tell you, I have said it multiple times on this show, and I say it off the air as well. I think it's good for us to be able to have our opinions change, our thoughts change on certain things. And I have watched this South Carolina season go, let's just say, not as planned in 2025, right? You have, Gamecock fans have, we all have. And I've watched just about every single game. I've watched this team not get better. And Diesel, you know, I think I've had to, in the last couple of days, separate my fandom of a person from the reality that I just don't know. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I have never uttered these words. I don't know that Shane Beamer is the guy, and I believe that South Carolina may be making a mistake in believing in Shane Beamer for one more season.
Well, there's a handful of coaches who have records very similar to South Carolina's that all fired head coaches.
I
in the
know.
SEC.
I know.
South Carolina is the one that didn't. And I get it, man. There's so much good feelings and good vibes. You want Shane Beamer to be the guy. You want him to be able to string together 8 and 9 win seasons.
I'm not a Gamecock fan.
And then maybe pop for 10 win seasons or a CFP berth at some point. I mean, he's a very likable guy, and I get that. You know, he's not prickly like Brian Kelly. He's not always talking trash and starting fights like Stoops did up at Kentucky. I mean, you want him to be the guy, but man, at some point you just got to face the reality of maybe hiring a position coach, a special teams coordinator with no time spent as an OC, no time spent as a DC, no time spent as an assistant head coach. Maybe that was a bit of a reach. And I think Shane will probably find eventually, if South Carolina lets him go, I think he'll find some success somewhere else because he's learned through the process of being a head coach at an SEC program where it's as hard as it could possibly be to be a head coach. I just don't know the first time around it's working out. And I don't think it's going to get a tremendously amount better.
And I do want to say, I do believe, Diesel, that the head coaching job at the University of South Carolina is one of the most difficult jobs in the country, especially in the conference. You're just not on the same playing field. You're not on the same level of playing field as the schools in the SEC, like the Texases, the A&Ms that have the money. You go look at the NIL money and the resources that South Carolina doesn't have, Diesel, compared to those schools. We know that they're not playing with the same wallet that A&M and Georgia and Texas is playing with, right? So I will admit that I do believe whoever is at South Carolina, it's a very challenging job. Ask
Vanderbilt did it.
Vanderbilt did it, and
Vanderbilt continues to do it. By the way, they look like they're going to be strong again next year, dropping a lot of money in NIL.
South Carolina's did it. I know that verbiage is probably South Carolina's done it,
right?
But will Vanderbilt be able to sustain it?
It's true.
South Carolina, I think why I'm changing my opinion now is they haven't been able to sustain it. Shane Beamer has won big games. I mean, you saw them take down a really good Tennessee team. You saw them take down the very next week a really good Clemson team and score 78 points in 2 weeks, and you've got proof that Shane Beamer can do it. So going back to what I said, he's done it, right, a couple of times, but the consistency, and I think the next season, I go back to next season, or I go to next season, not back to next season, but Diesel, do I believe that Shane Beamer sat behind the microphone a couple of days ago and told us that next year, this time next year, they're going to be sitting there waiting to see where they are in the CFP? I don't believe that for a minute. And,
to the point of what you just said, I think there's an easy way to look at it. It says money can buy great players because money bought them great players last year. Money has bought Texas Tech a lot of great players this year. But money can't necessarily buy coaching competency And that includes everything. That includes practice, scheme, in-game management. That includes seeing what's happening around you and pivoting and adjusting to what other schools in the conference are doing. And it can't make you competent at hiring coordinators. And that's where Shane has struggled the most.
Yeah.
He clearly was able to get good players and recruit them because he's a likable guy. But was he able to do it 2 years in a row? No. Doesn't seem like it, at least. Was he able to develop the team over the course of the season and get better even though they started slow? No. Has he been able to hire coordinators that can keep up with the Ole Misses and the Georgias and the teams like that? No. He hasn't been able to do that.
And I think ultimately when you look at the problems that have happened at the offensive coordinator position, Diesel, over the past couple of years, I think that's what's going to get Beamer fired unless this year he just makes some splash, drastic hire, and all of a sudden in 2026, this is a completely different South Carolina football team. But I just don't know. Are you telling me that? I mean, you saw it, I saw it, the Tolos saw it, everybody saw it, how bad this year's team was. You're telling me that this year's team, all of a sudden next year, they're going to be playing for a playoff? Like, there's a big gap. And I'm not saying they can't add players in the offseason. They can do that. They can add an offensive coordinator. They're going to do that. But I just think that I have run out of ammunition on the Beamer's the right guy side of the argument. I think I've just simply run out, and I'm surrendering. I'm waving my white flag, and I'm handing you my empty boxes of ammunition saying, hey, I don't have any more. I think ultimately I would go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off.
Well, Keith and TR, Keith, help me out here. Text back, reply, and he says we could be looking for a new DC in Columbia also. Based on what? Are you saying, because I haven't heard anybody that seems to have too much of a bad opinion about Clayton White. Are you saying that there's some kind of rumor that Clayton White might be interested in heading somewhere else for another job? If that's the case, I haven't seen that yet, Keith and TR, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to explain what you mean there. But he says if that's the case, let Beamer go and start all over.
And again, I will say, Diesel, I do believe there is something to be made. There is an argument for right now not being the most ideal time to fire your coach.
Oh, God, we didn't even get a chance. Both of our eyes got big at the beginning of that Jack Veltri interview. We both got the notification on the ESPN app that Kalani Sitake is essentially removing his name out of the hat from the Penn State search. So who is Penn State going to hire?
Penn State,
they keep getting turned down by everybody.
They are the girl that thought she was a lot prettier than she was and moved on from the guy that she shouldn't have moved on from. And now she's standing in the corner of the restaurant all by herself. And boy, I don't know. They're in trouble.
Some more breaking news from Pete Thamel literally seconds ago buzzed on my watch. New Auburn coach Alex Golish is keeping defensive coordinator DJ Durkin on staff. Fascinating. When we come back, Cole, we need to nail down some final rules for how we're going to handle the Upset Picks Challenge when it comes to the next couple of weeks, because you and I are going to be out on vacations for, not vacations, but some time around Christmas and New Year. So we need to finally finalize.
Yeah, don't say vacation around Dewey.
Yeah, Dewey will freak out. And we need to look at our early leans for this week's Upset Picks Challenge, as we have all of the conference championship games to choose from.
WTC HD3 Greenville, W249PL Greenville, W246CD Spartanburg, W2CXDL Anderson, the official sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. The Fan.
Upstate.
An Odyssey sports station. You ready?
Let's go.
It's from the fields to the courts and the gridiron to the tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Well, Tolos, we're coming down the stretch of the Upset Picks Challenge. Cole, just a couple of weeks left. I was on the phone earlier today with Dan B trying to figure out when we're going to schedule the different weeks of getting your picks in, when the deadlines would be for getting your picks in for the pre-Christmas bowls and the post-Christmas bowls. Then we were looking at, hey, should we try to include the college football playoff first rounds? And then it just swirls into, man, I don't think we're going to be able to get the college football playoffs into this Upset Picks Challenge.
I don't think we did last year, did
right.
we?
I'm pretty sure we did not do. I mean, we might have included the first round games because that's all you know up until the point that there's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in advance of second round playoff games. Otherwise, we'd have to like shift this thing to a Monday, Tuesday, and it would just be a big old fat mess. So
what I say we do is anybody that didn't pick last week, we disqualify them and move everybody else up.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, you're out of here. You're out of here.
I like it.
So there you go. We have just decided officially, Cole, on what the structure of the last 3 weeks of the Upset Picks Challenge is going to be. So this week, starting tomorrow, we're going to be picking the conference championship games, and there are 9 games in the mix there for our Tolos to choose from. And then next week, that would be December 10th, 11th, and 12th. It's pre-Christmas bowls. And then 17th, 18th, and 19th, it'll be the post-Christmas bowls.
I like
Outside of that, we're not doing college football playoff, just conference championship games. We're also going to include Army-Navy in with the conference championship games. So you'll have 10 games to choose.
What is that next week?
Army-Navy is next week.
Okay, but you can choose it this week.
You can choose it this week. Because otherwise next week that's the only game to choose from. So it would put it in a weird spot. So Army-Navy is going to be a part of this week's Upset Picks Challenge. I don't know a lot of Tolos that are going to pick it. Some might, but I don't think it would be a super popular one.
I got to look at the spread on it.
Last I checked, it was 4.5. 4.5. Not a bad spread, but I don't know that a lot of people are going to. Now, here's the thing: most of these conference championship games are against, like versus like, good versus good. So the picks are not going to be massive in those games.
Here's what's interesting.
Bowl season, though, could get big spreads again.
Bowl season could be fun. But, and this is a big but, I think there's value in the Army-Navy game. I'll tell you why. Navy's favored by 4.5 points.
Yep.
2 good teams. Navy has the better record. They're 9-2. Army's only 6-5. However, you Tolos, tell me, is there something to be said about Navy had a big win? They pulled off an upset last week. They won when they weren't supposed to. Maybe, just maybe, this is a good spot to take Army plus 4.5 because Navy's coming off of a huge win. You've got the hype of the Army-Navy game. They're supposed to be the team to beat.
Neutral site.
Army's got that chip on the shoulder. I don't know. I might talk myself into taking it.
Could be fun. I mean, would you take that over the big swing? And there's only one really big swing in the Upset Picks Challenge for the conference championship week, which will be Troy plus 23.5. That's crazy. 23.5 point spread in Troy versus James Madison. I think these two teams play each other already this season, right?
They should.
No, they did not. They did not play each other.
But y'all have divisions?
Divisions, yeah.
That's why they didn't play each other, I guess.
Correct.
Different divisions.
Yeah, there's only one crossover game to the other division. Two crossover games. I take that back. And they played Louisiana and Texas State out of the West. That did James Madison. So
you know what? I know that's a huge point spread. But, I mean, maybe there is a little value in taking that one.
I don't know, man.
Diesel, you're at 23 and a half
Are you
points.
telling me that there's not the fix is not in? You telling me that the commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference is not in those referees' ears and saying, "Hey, don't you dare throw a penalty flag that costs us a chance to get a team into the CFP."
Yeah, so if JMU were to lose, then
that's it.
You're done.
That's it for the Sun Belt.
You're done.
Correct. And that is what Madcraft is probably pulling for this weekend. He really needs that to happen because he needs Miami to have a better shot and have one more opportunity to get in.
That would be bad.
So if the ACC is eliminated, well, if that's the case, the ACC champ is back in. So
maybe
it's either going to be Virginia or a 5-loss Duke representing the ACC.
And, I think that would be a bad look for the G5s, even though it's not their fault. Like if JMU lost as a 23.5-point favorite to Troy, and we're trying to advocate for G5s being in the playoff. But hey, y'all couldn't even beat Troy.
It would prove they weren't ready.
Yeah,
certainly would.
Wouldn't be good. I don't know.
Here's where the distraction of Bob Chesney taking the UCLA job might come into play.
Could be.
You could look at that. Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, the Owls of Kennesaw State favored by 2.5. Again, James Madison, 23.5-point favorites over Troy. I think a lot of people are going to take that game just for the big swing. North Texas favored by 2.5 over ranked Tulane. See, Boise State are 4-point favorites over UNLV. Then you get into the power conference games. You got BYU are 12.5-point dogs versus Texas Tech. That's a neutral site game, by the way.
Hey, no way that's happening.
Let's see. Miami of Ohio, 1.5 dogs against Western Michigan. Georgia, Alabama. Georgia favored by 2.5. Indiana, Ohio State. Ohio State favored by 4.5. That's a fascinating game. And then, of course, we got Duke, 3.5-point dogs in Charlotte against Virginia. And if Duke wins this game, oh, baby, you're talking about 2 G5 teams getting in.
I think if Duke wins, what you do is you just say, hey, guys, look, we had some rules. We're going to abolish the rules. No ACC, no G5. We don't even know what we're going to do, but that would be horrible. I will say this, though, real quick, one more note on that James Madison-Troy game. Bob Chesney leaving that, I mean, there may be some substance there. Yeah, I don't know how that team responds. I don't know who's coaching that team. I'm not a JMU expert, but there may be some substance to that because Troy's not a bad football team. If JMU were playing a horrible football team, it'd be one thing. Troy's 8-4. Not a horrible football team. I don't really have any interest in Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, sorry.
That's fair. No, I don't know anything about any of these teams, right?
North Texas, Tulane. I mean, again, now you're talking about the conversation of, okay, do you want to take somebody to 2.5 points? No, not really. UNLV, Boise State, is that the game that maybe we believe that most people will choose this weekend? Friday night?
Possibly.
Mountain West Championship. I mean, Boise State didn't look good. I'll tell you this, right now, that's my early lean.
Boise State, let's see. What they've won 2 in a row. They barely squeaked by Utah State. They blew out Colorado State last week. And prior to that, they'd lost 2 in a row.
Oh, yeah, okay, so they barely beat Utah State. Is that right?
25-24 final.
Gotcha. So I would say I'd say my early lean right now as of today is UNLV +4 over Boise State. Again, BYU, there's no way they beat Texas Tech. Texas Tech's a machine. Texas Tech, maybe that's the team we're not talking enough about. Texas Tech. Miami, Ohio, Western Michigan, and the MAC. I mean, my gosh, it's a 1.5-point spread.
I think that might be the over-under also.
Yeah, it could be 1.5. Be a score. Yeah. And then Georgia, Bama, that's going to be a fun game, but what are you going to get out of it with 2.5 points here? So that's the unfortunate part about these conference championship games is that there's not a lot of points, not a lot of meat on the bone, if you will.
Do you think, and this is outside of our early leans conversation, if the American Conference Championship game, North Texas, Tulane, over-under right now set for 66.5, which is a high-scoring football game. So they're expecting like a 35-31 kind of game.
Yeah.
If this game ends up being wildly disappointing and it ends in a 17-10 kind of game. Is that enough? If James Madison goes out there and absolutely smokes Troy by 30 points, is that enough to jump the American Conference champion?
I don't think so.
Like the last data point you got is a dull, boring, lifeless football game.
I think what's hurt them is what happened earlier in the season. I think what's going to hurt JMU is the teams that Tulane. Is it Tulane? Is that who we're talking? Yeah,
Tulane and North Texas.
I think Tulane has a better resume, and I think that even North Texas might have a better resume. I think the resume is what is ultimately going to be the demise of JMU. I think the resume is going to hurt them. They just didn't play any strong opponents.
They got to get more. They got to get more power teams, and that's going to get harder and harder. As like we were talking about earlier with Alabama making the decision to move. I don't know, because if these teams are saying, all right, we're going to schedule a Power 4, a G5, and an FCS out of conference, does that help the G5 at all? Does that help them get more opportunities against power
you would
opponents?
think, but
it's hard to say.
By the way, Dan B asking on the text line for clarification about Army Navy this week.
I think it should be this week, because if we don't include it, there are only 9 games for our Tolos to choose from.
What games are next week?
Army Navy.
That's it.
That's the only game next week.
So you would everybody would be choosing the same game.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be this week.
So this week we have 9 conference championship games. Next week is Army Navy on Saturday the 13th. I mean, we could include. I tell you, I was wrong. Let me rephrase it. I was wrong. There are additional bowl games on Saturday, December 13th.
Next Saturday?
We could include it with bowl week prior to Christmas.
So you've got pre-Christmas bowls and post-Christmas bowls,
Correct.
Right?
Pre-Christmas bowls start on Saturday, December 13th.
Does it say how many bowl games will be next Saturday?
There will be 2. There will be 2 bowl games next Saturday.
So you've got the 13th and 20th are the 2 Saturdays.
Well, 13th, and then there's a bowl game on Tuesday the 16th.
Oh, is that the week leading
Veterans
up to
Bowl?
Okay, gotcha.
On Wednesday the 17th, there are 2. On Friday the 19th, there are 3. So the question is, would we rather lump Army Navy in with the pre-Christmas bowl games, or would we rather juice the conference championship week by adding Army Navy to that?
It's not a bowl game.
It's not a bowl game.
I say go with it this week. Yeah,
okay.
I mean,
that gives people 10 games to choose from.
Yeah.
As I know, it makes people. If anybody picks Army Navy, you got to wait an additional week to have your pick pay off.
Yeah.
So that's up to you if you want to do it, but it's going to have to stretch out over the course of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we only have 9 games to choose from.
Stretch it out, Tolos. So just stretch it out. That's all you got to do.
Army Navy going to be included with the conference championship games.
Do you remember when Sturge and a couple other ESPN Upstate staff went to the Army Navy game? Were you producing his show?
I was here. Yeah, I was here.
I remember, because for whatever reason I had been talking to him or somebody, and I remember seeing pictures. They went out there for it, and I think that would be a bucket list kind of game. Army Navy.
Yeah, I know they made a road trip up to the Little League World Series one year. Had an absolute blast. Adam, why can't we just take the top 12 teams? Is that too simple? He's talking about the CFP. Yeah, Adam, I get. I mean, that would be incredibly simple.
What do you mean, Adam?
But then you eliminate the made for TV aspect of getting fans from all over the country involved, and I get that waters down the playoff a little bit by not allowing the best possible teams in the college football playoff. Keith and TR says Duke has no chance of beating Virginia if it could possibly leave an ACC team out.
But it's a 4-point spread.
4-point spread. You telling me Duke couldn't possibly beat Virginia? It's Virginia. And I'm not hating on them, but we saw it happen with the Carolina Panthers last week on Monday Night Football. Sometimes the moment is just a little bit too big. Duke has nothing to lose in this game. Virginia has a college football playoff berth to lose.
Think about that, what you just said. Virginia
I know.
and college football playoff in the same sentence.
It's wild to
Oh,
think
my
that
gosh.
Tony Elliott has turned that program around from
He did
a
bad.
bottom-of-the-barrel bad football program to a potential college football playoff team in a year. Because it was last year. They were awful.
Horrible. I mean, we were talking about Tony Elliott, this
Get
experiment not working out. You know, like he tried. It's Virginia. They're terrible. He's a good coach.
And then you'd be saying, like, hey, is the Dabo coaching tree really all that? Because at the time, Venables was struggling at Oklahoma, Elliott struggling at Virginia. You may say, well, he's not really producing a lot of great coaches from his tree.
Thank God for Dabo. Venables and Elliott look pretty good. And right now, 2 of them could be in the college football playoff, depending on where Oklahoma.
Keith says, I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying they won't be allowed to.
Oh, rigged.
Yeah, he's calling it. And he says, I'm sure Virginia will have some help from the refs.
That's what Madcraft just said on the stream.
Yeah.
The ACC refs
Very
will
good
handle
chance.
it. Madcraft also, I guess, late to the party says, wait, repeat all that. Repeat all that. I missed it. Sorry. Jersey Joe, what's up, man? He says JMU should get in for sure if they beat Troy. But how do you compare their resume to Tulane or North Texas?
Well, they'd be a 12-1 team with their best performance against a team that the committee cares about being a close loss on the road at Louisville. That's their best performance. I know that they've been blowing everybody out of the water, beating everybody by 40 points.
Sure.
That's fine. But the committee won't look at the Sun Belt as especially this year with the Sun Belt being as down as it is. A couple of years ago when App State, Marshall, Georgia Southern all had big like week 1 and week 2 upsets. They might have looked at it then and saying, hey, if you're still rolling through that conference and you're beating everybody by 30, maybe we'll look at you. But that year is not this year.
So North Texas, pulling up their schedule, I want to see just head-to-head. They're 11-1. Let's say they win Saturday. They're a 2.5-point favorite, Diesel over Tulane. They've beaten Lamar, Western Michigan, Washington State, Army. Good win. South Alabama. Lost to South Florida by like 30-something points, 30 points. They beat UTSA. They beat Charlotte. They beat Navy. Good win. Hey, that's a good win. Win over Navy is a good win. Beat UAB. They beat Rice, and they beat Temple. The Tulane win would be probably, the third good win? Because you had the win over Army, which is a good win. Army, I mean, Army's a good team. Navy's a better win. And then Tulane's ranked. So Tulane would be their best win. Troy's not as good as Tulane. So if, let's say, JMU were to upset Troy, Tulane loses to North Texas, I still think North Texas gets in over JMU.
I think this year, I agree with you. I do. I think this year may be cause for the Sun Belt not to eliminate divisions because I think fans love the divisions.
I do. I miss them.
I think it may change to the 1 and 2 teams regardless of what division they're in. So if the East, let me pull up the Sun Belt standings here. Who is the second best team in the Sun Belt? You're talking about Old Dominion, a 9-3 team, 6-2 in conference, winners of 5 straight. I mean, would the committee look at a conference championship win over Old Dominion much better than a conference championship win over Troy? I don't think so. I mean, I think there's a few more people who have a little higher opinion of Old Dominion this season, but I'm not sure of that.
I think this is interesting. Do I think it matters in the long run? No. I think this team, whoever does get in, will probably be a first-round exit. But I do think it's interesting that we're having this conversation about the G5s and what could be, right, in terms of some good – I mean, I will say this to be fair. It's not like we're talking about bad teams. These are good teams.
Right.
North Texas is good. Tulane's good. JMU is good. Are they playoff good? Fixing to find out, right? Fixing to find out. Jerry Joe said, wouldn't they take 2 group of 5 goals?
It seems like it. I mean, they would have to because the winner of the Sun Belt championship game, if it's James Madison. But if it's JMU and they're 12-1, 12-1 JMU is going to be ranked higher than a 5-loss Duke.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. We'll see. Tolos, we are running off to a break because we're getting into South Carolina conversation on something I put on our Facebook page. But it is time, Diesel, to give away some tickets. As you hear right now, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. You ready?
We are ready. Tolos, 844-326-3663. Just as we did about an hour ago. Caller number 7. Going to score 2 tickets to next Friday's 4 o'clock show. That's the December 12th, not next Friday, December 12th. The Friday, December 12th, 4 o'clock showing of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, the Ghost of Christmas Eve. They're bringing it back for another year. And if you've never seen a TSO show, it is incredible. This year's tour features a brand new production of the Ghost of Christmas Eve, the best of TSO, plus a second set of fan favorites, including a 25th anniversary tribute to Beethoven's Last Night, a mix of rock, classical, lasers, pyro, and epic storytelling just in time for the holidays. 844-326-3663, taking caller number 7.
More fired up than your group chat after a blown call. This is Wired to Wire.
Well, congratulations to Jersey Joe and Jeff. Was it Jeff R? Is that right?
I think so. I'm going to go back.
Jersey Joe and Jeff. I'm
on that.
99.9% sure it was Jersey
Yes,
Joe and Jeff. Two Tolos scoring tickets to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Simpsonville and Fountain Inn, right?
I like it. I like it. Making you proud, but not making you proud, Diesel, are the South Carolina Gamecocks. I posted this graphic on our Facebook page earlier today, and want to bring it to the airwaves. 5 hours ago, put on Facebook, don't shoot the messenger, but how does this make you feel if you're a Gamecock fan? What am I talking about? Now that we have 3 sports in 2025 finished, Diesel, let's look at the SEC order of finish for South Carolina, sport by sport. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Football, basketball, or baseball? Which do you want to start with?
Well, let's start with the cash cow. Let's start with football.
Football, South Carolina, 15. Basketball, South Carolina, 16.
Ooh.
Baseball, SEC order of finish, South Carolina, 15. That would be an average finish of 15.3 in the major 3 sports, football, basketball, and baseball.
But a bigger number's good, right?
Bigger number is not good unless you're, counting money. And
unfortunately, they're not
unfortunately,
going to win that either.
no, they're not counting money right now. They might be counting the red, right? The one with the little negative dash beside it. But Diesel, we're talking about a program in South Carolina, 3 programs actually, and Gamecock fans, I don't bring this up to, throw shade your way or talk junk, because I genuinely do want to hear from you Gamecock fans and genuinely want to know what you think the answer is, because Ray Tanner might be to blame for some of this. Somebody else might be to blame for some of this. Yesterday, we heard it right here. Crazy Ralph said, shame on Ray Tanner for hiring some of these people. Shame on Jeremiah Donati for keeping them around, right? Where does the blame lie, South Carolina fans? At 844-326-3663, Hub City Spartanburgers text line is open. We know the phone lines are open because we just had them blow up for the TSO ticket. So want to hear from you, Gamecock fans, when you hear that your programs, football, basketball, and baseball, Diesel finished 15th in football, basketball, 16th and 15th again in baseball. These are not great times for the athletic programs that bring in the moolah and Columbia.
Yeah, it's a punch in the gut because you got great fan support in 2 out of 3. I mean, baseball fan support is amazing. Football fan support is amazing. Men's basketball, pretty good. I mean,
pretty good.
Some years, some seasons it's great. Some seasons not so much. I mean, I get that with basketball, most Carolina fans are women's basketball first, and that's respectable. It's commendable to be that. It's a tough pill to swallow when you got the fan support. You got to think there's financial support. I mean, come on. It's a school that spits out lawyers and dentists and a lot of people that should have a lot of money. Why are they not turning that money back around and putting it into South Carolina athletics?
Well, I think money is the root of it. I think at the end of the day, it all does come down to money. I would say, Diesel, that to your point, South Carolina does have money. They don't have Oregon money. They don't have Texas money, right? They don't have LSU money, but they still have money. How do you bridge the gap if you're South Carolina? Because in this new era, it is about the dollar sign, right? You just said it. It's about the moolah. And when you are South Carolina and you're having to compete with the Texases of the world, look at what Texas Tech right now is spending in NIL. It is unbelievable, Diesel, how much money is being pumped into that program. Now, you could say, well, it's just South Carolina. It's hard to do it. But guess what? Dawn Staley's done it. She's won national championships. She's built the program. Maybe arguably one of the best programs in college basketball and women's college basketball, right? So Dawn Staley has shown us that it can be done in Columbia. I would love to know why Lamont Paris can't do it. Why Shane Beamer can't do it? Hey, why can't Paul – by the way, does Paul Maneri still know he's the baseball coach? Does he know that he's still the guy? Does somebody check on that? Paul, you are still have y'all been practicing, Paul? I'm kidding. Paul Maneri, why can't he do it? It can be done in Columbia. We've seen Steve Spurrier give fans a glimpse of it, and you said it. I commend South Carolina fans, Diesel. I think South Carolina fans are some of the most loyal fans in the country.
Considering the product that they're actually giving you,
yeah,
and the return on your investment, you keep going back no matter what.
Did you see that stadium Saturday? Packed.
Yeah, it's wild.
Packed.
The stadium for Coastal the week prior was 90% full. You're not going to a bowl game and you're playing an in-state G5. It would be totally understandable for that stadium to be 60% full, lower bowl only. But no, that wasn't the case. And I was curious. I'm like, is Texas just dwarfing South Carolina with the number of students that it's spitting out every year because that adds up over time? No, it's not. I mean, South Carolina has 47,000 students. Texas has 55. So it's not like there's some gigantic number. The question is, how do you generate more revenue? Well,
is that the question?
I mean, it's Texas. I guess Texas has oil money.
Dig, baby, dig.
I mean, how are you going to generate more high salaried students once they leave? I mean, there's a reason why App State struggles, because it's at its core, it's a teacher's college. Teachers don't make any money.
Sure.
So that's why they don't put any money back into the university. I work in radio. I don't make any money. That's why I don't put any money back into the university.
Yeah.
But like I said, you would think with all of the doctors and the lawyers and the dentists and all the other high dollar degree programs that South Carolina pumps out, they could find somebody that struck it rich.
And JB brought up the same point on the stream that you brought up earlier with Vandy. He says if Vandy can get more money to make the program to get them there, why can't Carolina do it? Well, JB, in a sense, you're right. And Diesel said this earlier. Yes, Vanderbilt did it. But guess what, JB? Shane Beamer's also done it. Shane Beamer has had his team right there on the brink of the college football playoff. There is a difference, though, in doing it once or twice versus sustaining it. We'll see if Vandy can sustain it. Maybe they can. Maybe Vandy, proves us all wrong and Vanderbilt sustains this level of success. I don't think they'd sustain this level of success, but
I'm looking at Vandy's undergrad programs, management, finance, engineering, biomed, which none of these are gigantic salary programs. They're not spitting. I mean, does Vandy have a med school?
Good question. All I'm saying is we'll see if Vandy sustains it. We'll see if Vandy sustains it. They may.
Yeah.
Let's go to the phone lines. Dewey, our daily Dewey, he wants to weigh in. Can't wait to see hear what he has to say. Dewey, what's on your mind?
Here's the problem. The problem is the fan base. Y'all hit the knee on the hay. Why? You just got whatever that Texas A&M garbage was. That should not have happened. Shane Beamer should have been fired on the spot. But yet, y'all fill the stadium up. I would have sold my tickets. Hell, I would have tore up my tickets. No one wants to go see that garbage. But yet, people like Tom in Somerville, I love you, Tom, but I'm happy to it. You just say, well, we'll get them next year. There ain't no next year. The fan base is the problem. That's the major problem. The other problem, you just keep Shane Beamer around for what? Next year they're going to be 3-9. They're not even. The team is in turmoil. It's turmoil. Sellers, he's not coming back. He's probably going to go to LSU with Lane Kifflin. Or Ole Miss or someplace. He's not coming back. And Paul Maneri, he sucks. He's going to get fired this year. And the basketball team's not doing any better. Lamont Parrish needs to be fired. But the fan base just keeps on saying, give him another chance. Give him another chance. Well, I'm about to renounce my fandom because those are horrible numbers that you put out. It's embarrassing.
So you're a South Carolina fan, Dewey? We didn't know.
Had no idea.
Well, I speak the truth. I could criticize my team and be honest about it. South Carolina sucks. Clemson sucks too, but this is ridiculous. You go to the Final Four one year and then you only make the tournament the next year, and then you have a losing record on top of that. And then in baseball, you win a couple of national championships, and then you fall off the plateau. And then in football, you just plain out suck. It's time for a change, and the fan base doesn't change. Well, South Carolina's never going to change either. Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
What a phone call.
So
he said we hit the what on the what?
The knee on the hay. The knee on the hay. It's like a tay in the wind. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Dewey.
Real talk. What does Shane Beamer have to achieve next year?
No.
Minimum number of wins to keep his job into 2027.
Well, I'll tell you what.
6-6 keep his job?
No.
7-5?
Well, Shane Beamer, to answer your question, Shane Beamer answered your question. And I think he hung himself.
He did set the goal.
I think he hung himself.
Yeah.
I think he was I think he made a horrible mistake by sitting behind that microphone a couple of days ago and saying, we'll be sitting right here, watching to see where we are in the CFP.
So did he set it at minimum 9 wins?
CFP. Right now, Texas is 9-3, and with a loss to Ohio State, they're 16 in the country. So I would say, yeah, I would say 9 wins. And we went back to this an hour ago. 9 wins, that's not happening.
No. If he gets 8, this is my fear. If he gets to 8, people will say, whoa, he doubled his win total from last year.
God.
We got to give him another year.
Dear Lord.
That's the scariest thing about this fan base.
Well, they can't say that, but you win 9 games, and next year I think he keeps his job.
Dewey goes on that rant, and then he gets on the stream and says, your turn, Mad.
Oh,
where are you
Lord.
at, Madcraft? Call up.
Madcraft doesn't have
dial the phone.
The you-know-whats to try to match Dewey. I mean, Dewey's a one-of-a-kind. I think 9 is safe. I think 8, we're having the discussion. I think 7, the 7 wins get him fired next year.
Could you imagine Dewey calling Jeremiah Donati, calling his office?
No.
Every day. Dewey, why haven't you done that? Why haven't you called Jeremiah Donati's office
Jeremiah
every
Donati
day?
is going to never allow any Gamecock personnel to come on this station again after that.
He doesn't have to say he's calling in from Greenville and he's a listener of the show.
That wire to wire told me to call in.
Come on.
Diesel.
Dewey, call Jeremiah.
Oh,
please,
man.
And record it.
That'd be a great phone call, wouldn't it? That would be. You must record it.
When we come back, is this reporter out of bounds for asking brand new, fresh off the airplane, Alex Golish, head coach at Auburn, this question? We'll get to it next. football coaches are being hired all over the SEC, Cole, and some of the reporters are taking it easy on their new head coaches. Some are coming a little bit out of pocket with some of these questions. Now, here was some audio from Alex Golish's introductory press conference where he was named as the new Auburn head coach. And maybe you can spot why the reporter asked this question. But here's what Alex Golish was asked.
The question to you is, do you like to play golf?
So it's a setup question. Been here long enough to know that. So my little man, Barrett, loves golf. And Corbin used to, and she's now super into cheerleading and flag football. So she's just doing it as a hobby now. And my wife is an elite golfer. I like football more than golf.
Wait for it.
And I'm terrible.
So obviously Hugh Freeze was accused of running off playing golf instead of paying attention to football. And that's one of the reasons why he was ultimately let go at Auburn. But hey, a loaded question there from that reporter who asked, hey, do you like golf? And what's funny is you can't see it in just the audio clip, obviously, but he has this very stoic, flat poker face as he's answering this question. He looks at him like, now,
yeah,
I know why you're asking me that question. And no, I love football more than I love golf. Just well played in a great way to turn the conversation about his family, about his kids, their interests. And hey, you know, you take a moment where you could have said, oh, no, I'm going to be 100% committed to Auburn at all times. I'm going to eat, sleep, and breathe in this building. I'm never going to use the bathroom outside of this building unless we're on a road trip and a recruiting trip. I promise you, I am dedicated to this team. But no, he makes it a way to be personal.
So the question is, was the reporter out of line? The reporter was in no way, shape, or form out of line. I love keeping it light. Yeah. I love coaches that can keep it light, Diesel. I think that reporters do have a standard to hold them to hold themselves to. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we've talked about it before, how sometimes we see slack journalism, right? But this is not slack journalism. I have no problem with it.
What's funny about it is if you were looking at the same post that I was, where this was posted, there were people in there saying that this question was out of line. Like,
what?
Who's there should be standards for questions. These questions should be vetted in advance. I'm like, sir, you don't want that. You don't want reporters to have to turn in their questions to an SID before asking them. You do not want that to become the way that you get your questions approved.
Sure. That'd be a disaster. I mean, SIDs are already enough strict. You know, they're almost like school teachers. They're very strict. Yeah. They wear suit and ties. We love them, but they're strict. They have rules to follow. You know what I mean?
They're like librarians.
They are.
They're very tight. So remember how everybody got all over Brian Kelly for family for the fake accent? How come nobody's getting all over Lane Kiffin for fake accents? Here's Lane.
Actually, we're going by Tiger Stadium. I called one person, called Ed Ogeron. And I said, hey, man, all I can do is, man, this place just makes me want to talk like you right now. I did. I was like, we were in the car and the kids were in there. And I was like, and the coaches, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like channeling Ed right now. It's like, I'm feeling him. Like, I rolled down the window and I was like, go Tigers to the fans. Well, I'm like, so I called Ed. I said, I don't know what's going on, man, but I'm feeling you right now.
How come Lane can do it, but Brian Kelly can't?
Lane's was not near as cringe. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of funny. Brian Kelly's was like, oh God, everybody's got the goosebumps. Like, what's this guy doing? Right. Trying to make light of it.
Yeah.
We kind of joked about it. Maybe they should have just given the job back to Coach O. Right. But Lane's not as cringe. Lane can be cringy. I think he can be.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's quite as cringe as our boy BK. With that being said, Diesel, if those two pieces of audio weren't enough, a good old-fashioned audio blitz coming at you from over the weekend next.
okay, before I get into all the stuff, guys. They still haven't seen our best football yet. All right? We're going to put this thing together, the whole thing, right? But it's about how we battle. Making plays when it counts, okay? We got some guys to talk about. First of all, Nick Scott with the interception. Mike Jack with his first career pick six.
The scary thing is, Diesel, they still haven't even seen our best football yet, says Dave Canales, putting the NFL on notice. Are you kidding me? You buying that?
No, I think we have seen their best football. And their best football is pretty good.
Pretty good.
Their best football, if you look back at that Atlanta game, was that the one where Bryce Young threw 400 yards, 450 yards? You look back at whatever game that was, that team
that's pretty
could
good.
probably beat just about anybody. Like, I'm not putting them over the Patriots right now. I'm not putting them over maybe the Bears. Tough to say, but man, that kind of performance is going to beat just about anybody.
It's pretty hard to say that 400 plus isn't your best, right? Joshua on the Facebook stream says, who is pulling for Duke to obliterate Virginia and get 2 G5 schools in the tournament? JMU could give a 5 and a 6 a run for their money. We talked about that earlier. You might see that happen. Let's go to Steve Sarkisian. We talked about this earlier in the show as well, Diesel. Does Texas have a case? Should the Longhorns be in? Coach, what do you think?
But I think more importantly, it's the message that what do we want to send to the head coaches and the athletic directors around the country? You want us not to schedule Ohio State? Because if we're a 10-2 team right now, this isn't a discussion. We're in the playoff. But we were willing to go up there and play that game. And so now when you play 5 top 10 ranked teams in the regular season and you go 3-2, you beat 3 of them, and you schedule an Ohio State out of conference play, I surely don't think we want to punish us to do that, because what are we all going to do? We're all going to get out of those games, just like a lot of other teams in the country have done. And they've got nice, pretty records right now, but they weren't willing to go play these games out of conference. We're willing to go play those games. I just hope we don't get punished for doing that. And this whole idea that, hey, well, you lost to Florida. Well, the team that played for the national championship last year lost to Northern Illinois at home. So we're not going to you're going to punish us, and you don't want to punish them, but yet they were good enough to go play for a national title. So I have no doubt in my mind that the team we have in that locker room downstairs is a playoff football team and worthy of an opportunity to play for a national championship.
I believe right now this Texas team is playing like a college football playoff team. Diesel, I believe they're playing as good as any team in the country right now. That was a big win on Friday against A&M. But that one loss to Ohio State way back in week 0, to Sark's point there, you heard him, that might be the nail in the coffin. But then again, he kind of has a point, right?
Well, you know what I heard throughout that entire clip of audio, Cole? This is what I heard. How come they won't let my team in the playoffs? We're too good. Come on, Steve.
So you don't agree with him?
I think Texas is a good football team. I'm not saying that they're bad.
Playoff team, though?
Playoff team? I mean, you got to let the system work the way that the system is designed to work, or propose another system that will do it better, because everybody agreed to this system. Now you don't like the results. Now you resort to campaigning publicly.
Yeah.
Do I think Texas would beat who are the teams that we're looking at as probably being in the college football
probably
playoff?
Like
if I put
Miami,
Texas,
Utah, Vandy.
Texas would beat Vandy. Texas would beat Miami.
I think so.
Texas
Utah
would beat BYU. Texas, Alabama. Didn't they play already this year?
They did.
They did. Yeah. Or I know they played last year. Would Texas beat Notre Dame? Probably. Would Texas beat Oklahoma? Well, they did already. They beat them 23-6.
And I'm sorry, Texas did not play
Texas,
Bama this year.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Wait a minute.
It's hard to.
No, they didn't. They didn't. Texas and Bama did not play.
They did not play.
They did not play.
I think Texas would beat Alabama. I think Texas would beat Miami and BYU and Notre Dame. So would I say Texas is probably a top 10 team? I'd say maybe they're 10. I'd say maybe they're ranked 4 spots too low.
Yeah. I think what I would agree with on his point is they did schedule Ohio State. They held them. It was a 1-touchdown game. I don't believe the committee should penalize Texas for a loss to a really good, maybe the best team in the country, Ohio State. So I'm with them there. Ultimately, though, is kind of going back to what we told Madcraft yesterday with Miami. Texas didn't handle business against Florida. You handle business against Florida. Right now, you're not having this conversation. We're not having it, but they didn't. Hey, Mike Elko upset with the doors being left open. Can somebody please close the doors here?
We didn't play the way we needed to. Can we close the door and run a professional press conference, please? My gosh. Sorry. I don't know that you carry this stuff over. I don't know that it carries over. I don't know that.
Oh, my gosh. Is that the best audio of the day or what?
Oh, my God. See, Mike didn't realize that he was setting himself up as a meme.
Yeah.
That's a good God, Madcraft. Really? You message in 5 times and then you're texting me.
He's livid. He's livid.
Really
He's
upset.
so mad.
He's
Y'all
really
are moving the goalpost. I can hear him saying it now. Speaking of Texas, one of the players was asked about the same thing, going back to what Sark
So we're
said.
9-3. We lose
Michael
week
Taft, by the
1
way.
to the number 1 team in the country by 7 points. So if we don't schedule the hardest game and one of the most viewed games in all of college football, and we schedule a game that Texas should usually win, then you're 10-2. You have 2 losses in the SEC, and it's a no-brainer that you're in. You beat Oklahoma, who's a 10-2 team, has 2 losses in the SEC, and you beat Vanderbilt, who's a 2-loss team in the SEC, who you also beat. And then you have the best win in all of college football, beating the number 3 team in the country who was undefeated before this. So I don't think the committee should punish us for giving college football what they want to see. Non-conference games, number 1 versus number 2 in Columbus, Ohio, rematch of the Cotton Bowl from last year. One of the biggest games of all of college football. Everybody was tuning in for that game. And I think college football is really happy that Texas played Ohio State week 1. It just made the season so much more, fun. And I don't think committee's going to punish us for losing by 7 to the number 1 team in the country. So you look at that, you don't schedule that game. We're 10-2, and I think everybody thinks a lot different about if we should get in or not.
I see both sides. I do.
Yeah.
I see both sides.
Maybe he'd have a bigger argument if that was a 35-28 game, but it was 14-7. You did nothing in that game. Yeah, you played the game, but you didn't look good in the game. Okay, defense looked pretty good in that game.
Yeah.
But it was, and I'll give him this, it was Arch Manning's debut as a starter and on the road. And it's a tough place. But
it's a big game.
But you can't say, well, give us a break because we were young and inexperienced, but also give us credit for having played in the game. Yeah. All of it has to matter.
I think ultimately, Texas deserves to be in. I do. I think they're one of the best teams in the country. What about Shane Beamer? What he, the first 2 minutes there was no audio.
By the way, didn't Beamer have a similar meltdown in a press conference? Where was Shane Beamer when he got upset about he didn't like the room that they were in, and he was complaining that the other team was celebrating on the other side of a wall from him?
I forget where it was.
They played there this year.
Oh, it was this year? Yeah. But anyways, Beamer Diesel did say this after Saturday's loss to Clemson.
That because of the success that we're going to have next season, I know we will, we're going to look back at this season and say it sucked going through it, but because of what we went through in 25, it led us to what we just did in 26.
This is a meme. I don't understand. One more time.
Because of the success that we're going to have next season, I know we will, we're going to look back at this season and say it sucked going through it, but because of what we went through in 25, it led us to what we just did in 26.
I just don't know. Like, Diesel, South Carolina fans are tired of hearing that. They're so sick and tired of being told, well, next year's going to be so much better. Next year, they're sick of it, and I don't blame them.
So would you and by the way, that was Missouri. It was Missouri that Shane Beamer was complaining about the press conference room being too close to the locker room where the other fans were. Yeah. Other team was celebrating.
I want to hear Beamer mad.
Would you rather have an athletic director that's a little quick on the trigger? Think about would you rather have an AD as fast on the trigger as like LSU's AD was? Would you rather have an AD that's as quick on the trigger as Penn State was? I mean, look at the position Penn State is in. So the question is, like, do you want somebody who has maybe a little too much patience or a little too little patience? Because we've seen what happens when ADs have too little patience in Penn State, in LSU, in Florida, and for most of those, it's working out. Penn State, it's still not working out.
And you know what? I think the best thing that happened to Shane Beamer was Ray Tanner leaving and Jeremiah Donati coming in. I think that bought him a little time.
Stay of execution.
I think it did. I think it bought him some time. Let's see here. Where do we go next? Joel Klatt, which I don't think anybody watches. Is it Big Noon Kickoff? Is that right? Sorry, Buckeye. I shouldn't say this. Buckeye Mike is going to. Sorry, let me back up. Joel Klatt had a message on Saturday morning. It did not resonate, but this was his message to Lane Kiffin.
Let me talk to him right now. Coach, listen, the calendar is certainly an issue. There's no doubt about that, and it's broken, and it needs to be fixed, and we understand that, but that's not an excuse. And guys like Dan Lanning and Mike Elko and Rhett Lashley and Kurt Signetti, they have not used the calendar as an excuse to stay at their places in the middle of a playoff run. And here's the thing, guys. He certainly has the right to go wherever he wants. There's no doubt. But your currency as a coach is your credibility in front of your team and in recruiting. And I just wonder moving forward in front of a team, asking them for commitment and buy-in. Will he have the credibility if he makes this move? And if I was an opposing coach, you know what I would do? I would sit in a recruit's living room and say, why would you commit to that guy if you don't know if he's committed to you?
It's a good point. It's a good point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a point.
He's on one.
Yep.
To that point, again, didn't work out. Here's Bill Cowher talking about what kind of players would sign up to play for Lane Kiffin. And I do apologize. There's a little music underneath Bill.
Why would you even ask that question? Why would an AD let a coach who made a decision that he wanted to go to LSU and not stay at Ole Miss coach my players and use my coaches and tell them for the next month why they should be joining him at LSU? Totally understand. I would just say thank you, Lane, and goodbye. And that being said, if indeed he decides to take other coaches with him, I would just say any player that goes to play for Lane Kiffin, just understand one thing. It's not about the program. It's about Lane Kiffin, because he don't care about the players that he just went through a season with, a special season, players he's had for 4 years with an opportunity to go to the playoffs. He's decided to take them, and not only leave them, which I get, okay, you want to do that, but now you're going to take offensive coaches with you and destroy the program. And deplete the program. Deplete the program and the dreams of these young men who you said that you want to be there and you want to do it with. But if I can't do it, I'm not going to let you do it yourself.
Diesel, Lane Kiffin is too good of a coach. Think about it. Think about it. If they would have sucked, nobody would have a problem with Lane Kiffin leaving a sucky team going to LSU.
Or if they were just an 8-win team.
He's just too good of a coach.
Yeah. And you know what is funny about all of this? And I guess this speaks to the industry as a whole. How many different pundits have gone after Lane Kiffin for the decision that he made?
Every one of them.
Every one
except for me.
That's not gonna stop a single recruit. It's not gonna are you telling me that Trinidad Chambliss is like, oh, Bill Cowher said that he's a snake and I shouldn't go with him? Yeah. Trinidad's gonna go with him because he's
Trinidad say, who's Bill Cowher?
Yeah, who is Bill Cowher?
Never heard of that.
Who is Joel Klatt?
Yeah.
Who is this person?
True.
Who is that person?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Playoffs one more time about this. Who's getting in? Who's getting left out? Kalen DeBoer was even asked about it. Here's what he had to say.
Kalen, you guys get the opportunity now next week in Atlanta. What do you think about this situation where you guys put your resume on the line one more time, where other teams, won't be putting it on the line?
Yeah, I mean, we're 7-1 in the SEC, and I mean, that would blow my mind, but I know what you're getting at. That's crazy. And not saying your question is crazy, but just that would be unreal. I mean, we're 10-2 and 7-1 in the SEC with all these ranked wins, and we get like some wins on the road. We got a more than a playoff caliber football team. There's not a question in my mind.
So the reporter, Diesel, what he was getting at is, hey, do you think there's a scenario in which you guys are punished by the committee for losing the conference championship game?
Whew.
We talked about it last year.
Yeah.
Tennessee, you remember last year Tennessee didn't play.
Right.
They were like the team that everybody wanted to be because they weren't having to play the conference championship game.
Yeah, and it bred the conversation. Is it best to be the third place team in the SEC because you don't have to get beat up?
I think so.
You don't. People will look at you and say, well, Tennessee should have been in. You'll essentially be anointed with some sort of ability to win the conference championship game without ever actually having had to play in it.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the conversation, whether it happens or not, I don't know, but the conversation it'll be had.
Have you heard the audio of Lane Kiffin saying that he has no idea what his contract
yeah, it
is? Do you have it?
No, I don't, but I heard it.
I've got it.
Was
here.
it this morning? Go ahead.
Yeah, here we go.
I said through the process, okay, I'm never going to make a decision on money. And I'm telling you right now, I don't know what my contract is here. That's not very financially responsible, okay? I'm sure it's really good, okay? I don't know what it is, nor did I know at the other places what the numbers were. Because I said in the beginning, I told Jimmy Sexton, don't tell me the numbers, okay? I want to make a decision that has nothing to do with money for me. Now, tell me the numbers and the plan for what the money is for the players. Because that's everything in that area to me.
When we were trying to figure out what motivated Lane Kiffin, I remember putting that forth and saying, I'll bet the salary doesn't matter. Once you're already that rich,
it doesn't matter.
As long as you get a check every month.
Yeah, it keeps coming.
Yeah, you don't really care. And you might, I mean, did he just say he's Shohei Ohtani? Like he doesn't check his bank accounts. He doesn't know how much money is actually in there. What if Jimmy Sexton and his accountant were stealing money out of him, out of his account every month? He wouldn't even know. But what would motivate him is how many resources are you going to give me to go out and buy the best possible team and coaching staff that I can?
And he's right on that. Like that is where the priority should be. You know what I mean?
Once you get past, year 5 of making a couple $100,000, the amount of money that you're making every year, as long as you're employed, shouldn't really matter to you.
Diesel, one more clip of audio. Why does Sean McVay, we get on Tom in Somerville for this. Why does Sean McVay talk in all caps? I mean, this guy, here's the audio.
Didn't think that we weren't not ready to go. Didn't think we took this group lightly. I don't believe that for a second. This is the NFL. This is too difficult. They did a great job making plays, and they made plays. And we, it's sometimes you get some, bounces where it's a tip ball that goes for an interception when you drive right down the field. Really wish I had given Matthew a better play when Jackson ended up kind of squatting on that out route. And then, we ended up having an uncharacteristic, sequence there.
I mean, that guy is just like, hi, like, hey, there's a microphone in front of you, Sean.
Could you imagine Sean McVay, Dan Lanning, and Tom in Somerville in a room together?
Yeah, I can imagine.
When we come back, doing our end of season review on the South Carolina Gamecocks football program, looking ahead a little bit into 2026. We'll get into it next with Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central.
Fan phone. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Well, exit interviews, I'm sure, are happening right now in Columbia between Shane Beamer and his players, and it kind of feels like that's what we're doing right now with Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central, an exit interview on the season. Jack, I'm sure in these interviews, Shane Beamer is asking players, like, how did you feel like you improved this season? Do you agree with how much playing time you got? But if you were Jeremiah Donati and you were conducting the same kind of interview with Shane Beamer, what would you be asking Shane?
I think, how are you going to get this fixed, I think, is the big question of, we know they're going to make an offensive coordinator hire. We know they're going to make an OL hire. We know they're going to, bring in certain players and cut certain players loose. My question, though, is besides that, what else are you going to do differently to try and get this thing right? Like, do you make some adjustments to your off-season workout program? Do you emphasize something more than other things? Like different little aspects like that can really go a long way. So I would say probably that would probably be, what I'm asking right now.
Jack, what was most disappointing in your mind about what the Gamecocks couldn't do on Saturday?
I think just the way they were kind of outplayed and outcoached from start to finish, honestly. I think it was a little bit surprising to see just how it's not even like Clemson played particularly amazing. I think they were pretty good defensively in the second half, shutting South Carolina out and getting the pick six. But I think, Clemson didn't dominate offensively, but they didn't have to because South Carolina made plenty of mistakes to get in its own way. And, you're going to lose games when you turn the ball over 4 times and you don't convert on third and fourth down. So that's ultimately what happened on Saturday, and it's not surprising to see a South Carolina loss.
Jack, I've seen this sentiment all over social media. I'm sure you have as well. We had a texter say something about this yesterday. Lenora Sellers on the sideline, smiling and laughing it up with his teammates after committing a turnover. Is that frustration with player reactions just a fundamental misunderstanding of who Lenora Sellers is as a person? Is it a misunderstanding of the, be a goldfish mantra that coaches try to impart on players? How do fans want Lenoris and players like that to react in that situation? If he sulks, they get on him for sulking. If he smiles, they get on him for not taking it seriously. If he stands there stoically, fans get on him for not caring too much.
Yeah, it's a battle you can simply not win. Regardless of what you do, if you're him, you can't win. And look, I've seen people freaking out about the fact that he's laughing and whatnot. And I all I've seen is one little snapshot of him with a little bit of a smirk on his face. So unless I'm missing something, I think it's being blown way out of proportion. Now, after the game, that's a different story. Kind of as soon as he was asked point blank if he's going to be staying next year, he was kind of giggling and laughing, and then he kind of answered the question. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where his head's at right now with all this. It's not ideal to be so relaxed and so chill after a loss. Even the other players were kind of like that as well. But, that's kind of just the story of the season here, is that South Carolina just was not great throughout the entire season, and that kind of starts with your quarterback.
So what was your takeaway from that answer he gave? Because you're right, he kind of did almost laugh it off in a way and then gave a very political answer, and nobody really knows your response to what he said, and then on the flip side, what your gut tells you about Lenoris returning.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. It was a very political type of answer that when the time comes to make a decision, he'll make a decision, and he's right. He does have a little bit of time here to kind of decide what he wants to do. I've kind of teetered back and forth on what I think he's going to do. I think it was either you guys or on one of our programs at Gamecock Central, I was saying that I think he's going to come back to South Carolina. I say that, but I don't know, honestly. It's hard to get a real gauge on what this guy's going to do because it's been so vague with some of his answers and just his mannerisms and whatnot. Some days I'm just like after Saturday, I'm kind of like, I think he's going to leave. He just kind of looked like a guy that just wasn't very interested in coming back to South Carolina. But I don't know. Maybe I got the wrong vibe. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and he will come back to South Carolina. So, guys, it's really the $1 million question, and it's really hard to give an answer on it right now. My gut is going to tell me that right now I'm going to stick to my guns and say that he comes back to South Carolina, just because that would not surprise me. But I could certainly see a way in which he just goes to the NFL draft. I think it really just depends on what the draft grades are looking like and what the scouts are thinking.
You know, Jack, you look at the way Lenoris played in that game. Yeah, he had a couple of big, long touchdown throws in the first half, but he also made a ton of mistakes, multiple picks, multiple fumbles. I mean, those are on him. That's execution, that's focus, that's protecting the football. That's not necessarily, a bad play call that put him in a bad situation. So I guess maybe a follow-up to that question is, do you think no matter what, Lenoris is coming back to a college next year, or do you think he still has what it takes right now to go be an NFL quarterback this offseason?
Me personally, after watching him play this year, I don't think he's ready to be an NFL quarterback right now. That said, not immediately. I think teams are still going to be very interested in him, in drafting him. I don't know if it's first round or whatever, maybe late first round. Teams are going to be interested in drafting him based off of his potential and his skill set. Like, that's evident. Like, the stats are the stats. But there have definitely been times throughout this season, and even going back to last year more so, that he's been a really good quarterback. Not maybe at times this year, but I do think a lot of teams would take him based off of his upside. And I think, he's not ready to be the starter day one, I don't think. I think in this day and age of the NFL, you draft a rookie and you want them to immediately start right away. But there's been cases where guys wait a year and they sit behind a veteran. I think that would be what serves Lenoris well. But ultimately, I think he would be better served to get a year of development at the college level. I think of the three scenarios of staying at Carolina, NFL, or transfer portal bound. I feel like the portal is probably the last of those three options. I mean, look, he stayed at South Carolina last year when I'm sure that there were a ton of big-time offers out there with lots of money going around to go to other schools, but he stayed at South Carolina. He's an in-state guy. It'd be different if he were an out-of-state guy at South Carolina, but this is his home, and he's got everything he needs here, I think.
Jack, has anything been said about the relationship, or maybe better put, correlation of the relationship in terms of the OC that comes in having any, sway on if Lenoris comes back?
So, Lenoris mentioned something kind of interesting the other day talking to the media on Saturday, was that Shane Beamer has mentioned a few names to him, and they've watched some tape together on some different coordinators and what they like, what they don't like, and, getting Lenoris' opinion on it. Now, I think ultimately it's going to have to be Shane's decision. Like, I think there's a certain line where you can't have these guys, like a quarterback or other outside input, having too much thought process and opinion on making the hire, because look at what happened with Mike Shula when, all the players wanted him, including, the quarterbacks, wanting Shula to be the new OC, and then you got what you got out of that, fired 10 games later. So you don't want the same scenario to happen here with this next hire. Look, ultimately, I think you got to take Lenoris' opinion into account for some extent, but at the end of the day, this has got to be what Shane feels is best, and if that means Lenoris stays or he leaves, I think shouldn't really be too much of a factor. I think you got to make the hire that's best for the program.
Jack, I've read the rumor that John David Baker, who was recently at East Carolina, is a target for the OC job. I don't know if that's true or not, but have you heard any other names floating around of guys that Shane really wants to reach out to?
Yeah, I've seen the rumor, too, about John David Baker, and I think that's really all it is at this point. I know over on Gamecock Central, it has not been confirmed yet. There's a lot of different things going around out there, so you never know what's true and what's false. I've seen Decker be a name that's been brought up online. The guy from Old Dominion, I think he could be pretty good as well, especially since ODU's quarterback, who really had a great season. I mean, go look at his numbers. It's incredible what he did this year for the Monarchs. He's in the portal. So, those are seemingly the early names. I know Jason Beck's been thrown around a little bit because he has a little bit of a connection to Lenoris. So nothing concrete right now. It's more so just rumors and online chatter than anything right now, I'd say. But, Shane and his staff are definitely moving quickly on this.
Jack Veltri, Gamecock Central, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. What's the best bad rumor or topic being talked about on your message boards right now?
I think it really is just the overall frustration with the season and what Beamer's got to do to get this thing right. Obviously, the offensive coordinator hiring process is definitely a hot topic right now, but I think just the overall frustration of the season, I think, is what a lot of people are talking about right now.
What's the timeline look like, Jack?
With the hiring process? So Shane has talked publicly about how he wants to get this thing done sooner rather than later, talking about it probably right after the Clemson game, which, it's been a few days since then. And, he did say he doesn't necessarily it's not a big deal if he doesn't get the hire made by early signing day tomorrow. Ideally, you'd like to get this thing done by the end of the week, I would say, but, very soon here, I would imagine.
At this point, is it safe to say that, Mike Furry not in the running at all for the job? And, has he done enough to at least stay on staff at South Carolina? I know he was kind of elevated into a role that he didn't sign up for, but is there enough meat on that bone to keep him around?
Definitely. I think it'd be crazy to let a guy like him go. I mean, honestly, I think what's probably going to end up happening is he ends up reverting back to the wide receivers coach / pass game coordinator. Maybe give him a little bit of a bump up in raise. I'm not sure. I think he's done a great job bringing in some really talented receivers, developing Nick Harbor and Dre Jacobs into having really strong seasons at the wide receiver position. I mean, he's done a great job. That said, I still think, given the rumors that are out there, I still think that you're going to end up seeing South Carolina go externally here to look for this offensive coordinator. Mike's done a serviceable enough job, but getting shut out in the second half against Clemson and shut out in the second half against Texas A&M, I think was probably what sealed the deal for him.
So on the personnel side of things, what does the mass exodus? Is it mass? Is it not mass? What does the exodus look like in terms of the players leaving?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it's going to be important to keep a lot of the young guys here. I think you're going to see definitely some guys declare for the NFL draft. I think Jalen Kilgore is probably one that we'll probably see go to the draft. He had a very good season overall, and now he's a junior. And I think we all kind of have that expectation of whenever he does become eligible and he has a good enough year like he did this season, kind of similar to Nicky Manwari in a lot of ways when he decided to declare. I think that's what we're going to see here with Jalen. Lenoris, we'll see what happens with him. I think it could really go either way. You're definitely going to see guys transfer, no doubt about it. But as you always do, there will be enough turnover on this roster, just like last year, just like the year before. So I expect it to be pretty similar to what we've seen here in years past. But at the same time, keeping some of that young core that you've developed this year.
Jack, does it bum you personally out that the season is coming to a close? Or are you kind of happy to turn the page and start focusing on baseball and basketball seasons?
I'm a little mixed on it. I do I really did enjoy getting to cover a bowl game last year and traveling for the holidays after Christmas. I mean, that was a lot of fun. I'm sure I'll be jealous of any of the other writers around the country that are getting to do that this year. The bowl weeks are always fun. I think that's certainly can be said. That said, I am looking forward to the fact that the season is over and, we kind of focus on the off season here, what South Carolina is going to do to get better for 2026. And look, I'm covering basketball right now, and then baseball is pretty soon from happening right now. So like less than 3 months. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, Jack, the good news is next year, this time next year, you'll be covering a playoff team.
Yeah, that's what Shane Beamer tells us. So we'll see if that's the case.
Well, good stuff as always, man. We appreciate you, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, thanks so much, guys.
seen the college basketball slate for tonight? Diesel, we hadn't even had a chance to talk about college basketball yet.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, it's here. We're in the thick of it. Obviously, football dominates, right?
It is sad because we're so focused on the college football playoff and conference championship games that a lot of people do miss these early season, very, very good out of conference matchups.
And I'm guilty of it too. I am football focused until football ends. That doesn't mean like the other night on Thanksgiving night, I did watch, what was it? Duke, Arkansas, right? It was a great game. That doesn't mean I hadn't watched, but I'm not dialed in like, I will be here in a few weeks. Tonight, though, Diesel, top 25. Are you kidding me? On a random Tuesday, you've got Iowa, Michigan State, top 7 team, or the number 7 team, rather. Tennessee, Syracuse tonight. You've got number 15, Florida, number 4, Duke, Purdue, Rutgers tonight. UConn, Kansas, 5-21, 5 versus a 21. You've got Southern Cal and Oregon, 2 good teams. And then to make it even better, at 9:30 tonight on ESPN, how about 2 blue bloods going at it? Number 16, North Carolina, and number 18, Kentucky. Oh, what a slate.
I love this time of year because you never really know how good these teams are. I mean, most of them have played 8 games or fewer. Nobody has a substantial data set. So it's kind of hard to say that Duke, being the number 4 team, is substantially better than somebody else that only has 1 loss. I mean, like, what's the difference between number 4 Duke and number 16 North Carolina?
Well, right now you don't know yet.
Exactly.
That's the whole point. No, you don't.
We're going to find out. UNC at Kentucky tonight. That's a good one.
UNC Kentucky. Are you kidding me? A lot of good college basketball. I think that North Carolina Kentucky game, for obvious reasons, is probably, the marquee matchup of the night. And by the way, it's only a 6.5-point spread, Diesel, in favor of Kentucky. But the ESPN matchup predictor gives Kentucky a 86.2% chance to win compared to North Carolina. ESPN matchup predictor, Diesel, only giving the Tar Heels a 13.8% chance to win.
So, like, what has Kentucky done that's so impressive? They lost to Michigan State badly, by the way. They blew out. Okay, I wouldn't say blowout. They beat Louisville by 8 on the road. I mean, like, really, what has Kentucky done that's so impressive? I don't get it.
Preseason rankings, man.
Yeah, I guess. All hype. Hype is all you can say.
We learned that in college football, didn't we? We learned it. We learned it with LSU. We learned it with Cade Klubnik. We learned it with everybody else. But it's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
But Kentucky beat Tennessee Tech by 50. That's got to count for something.
50 points. Does that count for anything?
No. No.
I mean, that is a little ridiculous, right?
North Carolina lost to that same Michigan State team.
Yeah.
They got to win over Navy. They got to win over NC Central and Radford. Look out.
Yeah,
you just don't know. These teams have played nobodies to this point.
That's the fun in it, man. That's the fun in it. So a lot of good college basketball tonight. I cannot wait. And then tomorrow, we're live out and about tomorrow, Diesel. Is
That's
that right?
We'll be at Ingles in Cherrydale.
Let's go.
Want to see you there, Tolos. Get yourself an Ingles gift card.
Tolo.